Douluo, after listening to the advice, I became a god. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 326 Ning Rong Na Rong. I don't know how many sons I have. The girls blushed. The cavalrymen were all envious. Be like Yun Feng, be a man even more. The promotion match was also a round-robin system, but because the number of teams was reduced, the competition time was reduced from 1 month to half a month. After another half a month of rest, the finals were held at the junction of the two empires of Tandu and Xingliu. Roxan saluted Liu Erlong in a standard military salute. Your Excellency, please rest early. The promotion match will officially begin tomorrow. At that time, someone will lead you to the competition venue. There will be no opening ceremony for the promotion match. The competition will start directly. The victory or defeat of the competition will be jointly judged by the Empire and the Wuhan Hall to show fairness. Liu Erlong nodded slowly and didn't say much. After Yun Feng and others settled down, Ning Fengzi and Zhu King also came to the outside of the tent. Yun Feng saw the two as soon as he came out. Father-in-law, His Royal Highness, why are you here? Zhu King was wearing ordinary aristocratic clothes, without any particularly luxurious attire. He felt like an ordinary aristocrat, especially standing next to the elegant Ning Fengzi. He seemed to be a foil and did not attract attention. Yun Feng couldn't help but sigh. If he didn't know his identity, Yun Feng would have thought he was an ordinary person. Ning Fengzi was still the same, smiling and nodding at Yun Feng. Zhu King had a gentle smile on his face. Brother Yun, aren't you here? This time I have the honor to come with my father to watch the promotion game. And by the way, I came to see you. How is it? Are you used to it here? If you are not comfortable, I will ask someone to change you to another place. Yun Feng smiled and replied, it's okay, I brought a big bed with me. There is nothing to adapt to. As soon as these words came out, Zhu King's mouth twitched a few times. The man in front of him was good in everything. His talent were comparable to his own, or even better than his own. The only shortcoming was that he was too lustful. Brother Yun, you are joking. Yun Feng chuckled and looked at Ning Fengzi and said, Father-in-law, are you here to see Rong Rong? Let's go in and have a chat. Ning Fengzi shook his head. I won't go in. You can call Rong Rong out. Before Yun Feng nodded, Ning Rong Rong came out. Dad. Ning Rong Rong's voice sounded at the right time. The charming figure ran out of the barracks with an excited face. Why are you here? Ning Fengzi scolded with a smile. Why? Did I disturb your intimacy? Ning Rong Rong blushed immediately and grabbed Ning Fengzi's arm viciously. Say it again. Seeing Ning Fengzi's miserable state, Zhu King laughed. However, in Ning Fengzi's eyes, Zhu King also said tactfully, Teacher, it's getting late, we should go. Ning Rong Rong said with some dissatisfaction, Dad, you just arrived and you're leaving. It's a pity that I'm in the auxiliary department and can't play in the promotion match. Otherwise, I will definitely let you see my current strength. Ning Fengzi smiled warmly, touched Ning Rong Rong's head and said, Don't watch. With your current training speed, you will soon surpass me. You are the future hope of the sect. I have discussed with the elders in the sect. After you graduate from Lanba Academy, you will be officially announced as the next successor to the sect master. Ning Rong Rong was not very interested in the position of the sect master, but if she could help Yun Feng, she would be willing to sit for a while. Maybe she saw Ning Rong Rong's look. Ning Fengzi said with a serious face, this is your unshirkable responsibility. Dad only has you as a daughter. If the sect doesn't hand it over to you, who else can it hand it over to? You don't have to be dissatisfied. With Dad's current physical condition, there is no problem for him to hold on for another few decades. Isn't this enough for you to play? Ning Rong Rong tilted her head, looked at Ning Fengzi with disdain and said, I am the only daughter. I don't know how many sons there are outside and in the sect. Ning Fengzi. He was silent immediately. He has many sons, but few of them are talented. Only Ning Rong Rong has surpassed the history of the 7 treasures glazed tile sect. She has reached the 9th level of innateness, and her martial soul has evolved into the 9 treasures glazed tile tower. Ning Fengzi may feel that it is shameful to have his daughter expose his private affairs in front of everyone. He hurriedly said goodbye to Yun Feng and everyone, and left directly with Zhu King. But Zhu King looked at Yun Feng meaningfully before leaving, and his eyes seemed to have made up his mind. "Come on, Yun Feng." Yun Feng also waved his hand and responded to Zhu King, "Is that the prince of the Tandu Empire?" Dao Wu looked at Ning Rongrong and asked. Ning Rongrong nodded. "Yes, he's my father's disciple." "It feels weird." Yun Feng looked at Dao Wu and Ning Rongrong in surprise when he heard this. Women's intuition is so strong! They can even detect something strange. Unlike the preliminaries, the promotion match does not have multiple arenas at the same time, but only one competition venue, which is the Royal Knights Grand Parade. A total of 15 teams participating in the promotion match will play 14 rounds of round-robin matches, 1 round per day, and 1 team will be on a bye every day, and 7 games will be played. All will be held in this same venue. The Grand Parade has been renovated, and a 100-meter diameter area in the center is set aside as the competition venue. Compared with the preliminaries, the space here is wider and naturally easier to display one's strength. On the north side of the Grand Parade, a VIP seat was temporarily built facing north and south, which is also the referee's seat. There are not as many VIPs coming to watch the game this time as last time. There are fewer nobles. Looking around, in the VIP seats, apart from the first row of Emperor Zhu Yi, Ning Fengzi, and Platinum Bishop Saras, the seats behind were filled with people dressed in military commanders and some high-ranking officials of the Spirit Hall Tandu City Spirit Hall. After all, group battles are more chaotic, and many things are not easy to see clearly, but the promotion match is different. Every student will show his or her personal strength in full view of the public. It is also the best time to assess the strength of a spirit master. Outside the large parade ground, a full 10,000 royal knights surrounded the entire parade ground, with shining helmets and armor. The royal knights in the front row stood on the ground, while the ones in the back row sat on the backs of their mounts. Such a tight defense can be said to be watertight. Of course, just as Yun Feng judged, the purpose of Emperor Zhu Yi was to let his most elite warriors come to see the strength of the new generation of young spirit masters to inspire their fighting spirit. Between the large circle formed by the knights and the competition venue, the 15 participating teams have already arrived at the scene. Even the teams that were given a bye today were no exception. Even if they don't have to compete, they still want to see the strength of their opponents. The rules of the competition are very simple. Chapter 327. It's still not lasting enough. Each side sent 7 players to participate. Each player on the field had to fight until they were defeated. The winner would face the next opponent until all 7 players on one side were defeated. Yun Feng, who knew the rules, also looked at the girls and Huang Yuan, Jingling and others. Whoever wants to go on can go on, but it's best to end the battle quickly. I haven't played on the grassland yet. Yurlong glared at Yun Feng and said, "This is a good opportunity to train. Go from weak to strong. Don't worry about not having a chance." Yun Feng also smiled. The main reason is that his mentality is too arrogant now. However, in the eyes of outsiders, Yun Feng does have the capital to be arrogant. After all, not everyone can be as awesome as him. The draw was completed last night, and Lanba Academy did not draw a bye in the first round. Their opponent is a high-level Soul Master Academy from the Barak Kingdom. They are scheduled to play in the 4th of the 7 games today. The teams that passed the preliminaries in different divisions were grouped together, and Yun Feng naturally saw the familiar opponents of the 4 Elements Academy. When they looked at the Blue Tyrant Academy, several people's eyes fell on Yun Feng in particular. Among them were Feng Zioxian, the captain of the Shifeng Academy team, and Huo Wushwang and Huo Wu, the siblings of the Blazing Academy team. The former was full of reluctance, the middle one was full of loneliness, and Huo Wu's eyes were full of love. The same was true for Tanshui Academy. Most of them were enthusiastic. After all, they had trained with the Blue Tyrant team for a long time, although they trained together because of Shui Duoer. But who knows what the other 6 girls think? Seeing several people looking at him, Yun Feng also greeted them kindly. Except for Feng Zioxian, Almost everyone responded enthusiastically. However, the game was about to start, and Liu Erlong also simply said the order. The first is Huang Yuan, the second is Jingling, the third is Tang San, and the fourth is Zhao Wu. After that, Liu Erlong didn't say much. Although there are 7 people, can't Zhao Wu end the game when on 1? Huang Yuan and others in front just let them go forward to practice. It doesn't matter how many they can win. But Liu Erlong also took care of Zhu Zuqing's emotions. Fourth, you should just rotate all the time. Anyway, each of you can beat the opponent, so there is no need. Zhu Zuqing also nodded. As for Ning Rongarong and Jiang Zhu, auxiliary spirit masters cannot play. This is also to protect them. But if you must play, you can sign a waiver agreement first. So basically no auxiliary spirit masters will play. After the discussion, Emperor Zuyi also stood up from the VIP seat. He said loudly through the spirit guide, "The promotion game officially begins today. In the next 14 days, I hope that the teams of each academy will give full play to their own strengths and show the style that Spirit Master should have. Let's start." As soon as he finished speaking, shouts like a landslide and tsunami sounded in unison. "Long live! Long live! Long live!" The royal knights raised their lances high, and the clanging of armor and their loud shouts immediately scared the participating spirit masters. The style of a great country was undoubtedly demonstrated. The first game has begun, and the first to appear was the Blazing Academy. Their opponent was a team called Fabio Academy. Huo Wushwang, the first official captain to play for Blazing Academy, obviously wanted to end the game quickly, but the opponent was just more ruthless. In addition to the big points, the small points of wins are also extremely important in the final ranking of the promotion match. Once a big draw occurs, the small points will be ranked according to the small points. However, Lanba Academy doesn't care about this. It's all about mentality. Anyway, with Yun Feng as the foundation, who can beat him? The team can't beat 7 against 1, not to mention 1 against 1, but Yun Feng still gave a few instructions. Find the presence of your captain, Huang Yuan. If you can't win later, just surrender directly. If you get seriously injured, we will have fewer people when we go to the finals. Huang Yuan and others smiled. Don't worry, senior, we will pay attention. If we can't beat us, we will surrender. The game went very quickly. Once there was a gap in strength between soul masters, the victory or defeat was often in an instant. Whoever had stronger soul skills and higher soul power level could easily defeat the opponent. After all, there are very few people who have soul bones. In a one-on-one match, it is impossible for martial soul fusion skills to exist. Everything depends on one's own strength. In the first big match, Huo Wushwang defeated 3 opponents in a row, and only lost after a large consumption of soul power. Yun Feng looked at him and smacked his lips. It's still not lasting enough. The surroundings suddenly became quiet. Losing 3 people in a row is not considered lasting? Huo Wushwang naturally heard what Yun Feng said. His face turned red and white with anger. Yun Feng, who realized that he had accidentally said what was in his heart, also looked at Huo Wushwang apologetically. There can be no rest time in continuous fighting. This is also the reason why the promotion match is more interesting than the preliminaries. It not only tests the strength of everyone in the team, but also the personnel arrangement and tactical arrangement are very important. No matter how powerful the soul master is, it is difficult to defeat the opponent on his own. After all, no matter how strong the soul skills are, the soul power is limited. The second person to represent Blazing Academy was Huo Wu. She looked calmer than in the preliminaries, and she was even more powerful when she started fighting. Although she was a girl, she brought great pressure to her opponents in every battle. It didn't look like she was competing at all, but rather like she was fighting desperately. It was as if she was trying to prove something. With the advantage of being a control-type soul master, Huo Wu defeated 4 people in a row, and she and Huo Wushwang defeated the Fabia team directly. When Huo Wu walked back from the competition venue, due to the large consumption of soul power, her physical strength was already overdrawn, but her pale face was still full of joy, and she looked at Yun Feng without hesitation. The love in her eyes almost melted Yun Feng. Facing Huo Wu's enthusiasm, Yun Feng also responded with a smile. Douluo has indeed become stronger. Although only 1 month has passed, the pressure on her body has obviously become much stronger, and her explosive power is extremely amazing. It seems that she has really worked hard in the previous month. It was not because of anything else, but because Douluo felt pressure from Feng. Except for a maid Miao Miao, almost all of them were chosen by heaven. No one was weaker than her. How could this be possible? So she rolled up. Although the Fabio Academy team was one of the weakest among all the 15 participating teams, the Blazing Academy only sent 2 people to easily defeat them, and still stood out among the many participating academies. Among them, Douluo took on 4 alone, so her hard work was naturally not in vain. Chapter 328. What are you going to do? The second match was held in 2 academies that Feng was not familiar with. However, in these unfamiliar academies, he saw a familiar face. A simple school uniform outlined a perfect figure, and a solid and slender snake staff was held horizontally in his hand. It was the granddaughter of the peerless dragon snake, Mengren, who was seen in the starred Great Forest. Mengren appeared in the competition venue as the vice-captain of the Alien Beast Academy team, full of vigor and vitality. In fact, she had noticed Feng a long time ago, and wanted to say hello. But seeing Feng surrounded by so many girls, she felt very uncomfortable. Thinking of this, she looked at her opponents differently. As the first Weapon Soul Master to appear, she fully demonstrated the advantages of Weapon Soul Masters. Although Weapon Soul Masters are not as explosive as Beast Soul Masters, Weapon Soul Masters win in terms of long-lasting combat power. Relying on the poison on the snake staff and her varied and fierce attack methods, she actually defeated 4 people in a row. It is hard to say whether there was any emotion among them. Anyway, the 4 people who were beaten down by Mengren were not feeling well, and they cried one by one. As they were talking, some changes had already occurred in the match. Although Mengren defeated 4 opponents from the Alien Beast Academy, the other students in their academy were obviously not as strong as Mengren. 4 of them were defeated by the opponent. In the end, the match was played until the 10th game to decide the winner, and the Alien Beast Academy narrowly won the match. However, this battle also made Zhao Wu and others realize that the strength of the kingdom and the principality is still a little behind that of the 5 Elements Academy and the Tandu Royal Academy. How to say it? The good and the bad are mixed. Although Mengren is very powerful, that's all. Among the 3 academies that have already appeared, there is only 1 Soul Master above level 40 at most, and most of them are only in the 30s. Like Mengren, he is only at the level of 37. Even so, he can still fight 4 alone. According to this, the competition for the final place in the promotion match should still be decided by the 5 teams that have qualified from Tandu City. But after a while, it was also the turn of the Blue Tyrant Academy to play. The first to appear was Huang Yuan. Inspired by the confident eyes of everyone, Huang Yuan slowly walked into the competition venue. The opponent of Lanba Academy in the first round was from the Barak Kingdom, a royal academy. Just like the status of Tian Royal Academy in the Tian Empire, the name was also the same as their kingdom, Barak Academy. The first person to appear from Barak Academy was a tall young man who looked to be in his 20s, wearing a black school uniform with gold edges. He was stunned when he saw Huang Yuan. It was not because of anything else, because other academies sent the strongest players in their academy teams to fight at the beginning, and they also investigated Lanba Academy early. After all, it was the favorite to win the championship. It didn't matter if they didn't check it, but they were shocked when they checked it. The captain of the opposite Lanba Academy and those girls were all soul masters above level 40, especially their captain Feng. He was an existence that could fight against titled Buo. So at the beginning, they didn't have any hope of getting a small score from the opponent. Now seeing that the opponent was not their captain or those perverted female players, they were naturally surprised. They were very happy. At least they didn't have to go home with their heads shaved in the promotion game. The tall young man from Barak Academy was overjoyed, thinking that as long as he won 1 game, he would have nothing to do with the rest. Anyway, he tried his best. But Huang Yuan was not a weakling. Seeing that the opponent looked down on him, he was naturally very angry. At the moment the game was announced, Both sides released their martial spirits at the same time. Boom! Huang Yuan and the opponent both released their spirit skills at the first time, attacked the opponent. However, because the spirit power level was not much different, they fought back and forth for a while. The sound of fighting continued to resound throughout the arena. After hundreds of rounds of fighting, the tall young man from Barak Kingdom was finally defeated because his actual combat experience was not as high as Huang Yuan. He left the place with his eyes blank. Huang Yuan was too lazy to fight a good fight. The image of Yun Feng pretending to be powerful also appeared in his mind. With a crooked mouth, he subconsciously said a word. Next, these three simple words seemed to have set off a gunpowder barrel. 7 or 8 people from Barak Academy immediately jumped up and rushed towards Huang Yuan aggressively. Huang Yuan was frightened. In fact, he had very little soul power left. Naturally, he could not hold on to the next fierce battle. He did not think too much when he said this. However, the referee of the Tantu Empire did not care about that. Seeing that the people from the Barak Kingdom on the opposite side still wanted to make trouble, he immediately said, "What are you going to do?" An invisible pressure suddenly swept towards the people from Barak Academy. It frightened the opposite side. Yun Feng looked at Huang Yuan and said with a smile, "Huang Yuan, come down. You don't have enough soul power. Don't be so stubborn." Huang Yuan nodded quickly like a chicken pecking at rice and changed people directly. He had no soul power now, and the next one was angry with him. He didn't want to be beaten up. It was not worth it. At this time, the teacher leading the Barak Kingdom had also walked into the competition venue. His soul power was not worse than the referee here, but he was still a little nervous for some reason. He immediately bowed modestly and said, "We will strictly follow the rules of the game. The students are all young people, so it is inevitable that they will be a little impulsive. Please don't blame me." Seeing that the other side was so humble, the referee did not continue to oppress the other side's students. He just snorted and said, "Please remember your identities. Non-competitors who enter the venue without the referee's permission will be expelled from this competition immediately." The hot scene that was about to break out was suppressed, and the people from the Barak Kingdom Academy did not dare to have any temper. However, the dissatisfaction in their eyes was still beyond words. They just didn't dare to confront the referee. Looking at Jingling who had just come on stage, the people from the Barak Kingdom Academy smiled. The opponent walked on to the stage second, and he was also a soul master above level 40. As soon as he stepped onto the stage, he released his martial soul without waiting for the referee to announce the start of the game. His martial soul was very strange. It was a flower with a red center and orange petals. "Sunflower," someone whispered, and mentioned the martial spirit on the other side. Jingling immediately recalled what he had learned. Wild sunflowers can release a strange smell. It makes the enemy lose their ability to fight. It is a strange mental toxin. And sunflowers are as hard as iron. With this as a martial spirit, it can be used as a weapon. Poison and attack are equally important. Obviously, this is not an opponent that Jingling can deal with. A skeleton martial spirit of more than 30 levels, facing a soul master of 40 levels and above. Difficult. Chapter 329 Heading to Wuhan City. But Jingling's eyes did not give up. Instead, they were burning with a raging fire of war. If he gave up because of fear, then there would be no point in him playing, and he would directly lose a small score. Why not send the strongest fighting force here from the beginning? So Jingling had to prove himself. Although the second player from the Barak Kingdom was not tall, he was very strong. You could clearly see the bulging muscles on his broad shoulders. Holding a flower in such a shape, it looked really weird. "Surrender. You are not my opponent." Jingling did not speak, but summoned his martial spirit and waited with all his strength. The game begins. At the referee's announcement, the first soul ring of the Barak Academy student lit up, and the sunflower in his hand grew in the wind, and in a blink of an eye it had grown to a diameter of 1 meter. The long stem in his hand also reached 3 meters away. It suddenly turned into a strange weapon. With a wave of his hand, a thick yellow mist was released from the sunflower. It directly enveloped Jingling. At this time, Jingling couldn't go forward, so he had to retreat, taking big steps back. But despite this, he still smelled a faint scent of flowers. The scent was very strong. Although it was only a hint, but Jingling immediately felt a drowsiness in his head. Under the same level, especially when the soul power of both sides is not too high, the Poison Soul Master is very advantageous. As long as it is used properly, it can greatly restrict the opponent. Not to mention that this is not the same level, like the student of Barak Academy in front of him, from the perspective of attribute restraint. In addition to the martial soul that specifically restrains poison, only the martial souls of water and fire like Huo Wu and Shui Binger can restrain him. With a stuffy chest, Jingling knew that the poison had begun to take effect, and hurriedly urged the soul power to suppress the poison. And his opponent did not pursue. A hint of a grim smile appeared at the corner of his mouth, and the sunflower in his hand was fanned repeatedly, blowing the large yellow mist towards him. The coverage area began to become larger and larger. At this time, the first 2 soul rings on his body were already lit at the same time. Jingling did not dare to be careless and held his breath. The soul ring on his body kept shining. When everyone was watching how the young man on the field broke the game, Jingling's soul skills worked. Jingling covered his mouth and nose with one hand. His whole body was covered with white bones, and his bone armor was covered with dense bone spurs. He rushed directly to the opponent. He completely ignored the yellow fog. Since Jingling could understand it, how could the opponent not understand it? So when Jingling ran over with a belief that both sides would suffer losses, the opponent's 3rd and 4th soul skills flashed instantly. The black seeds on the sunflowers exploded directly, like a storm. They hit Jingling's bone armor directly. When the seeds exploded on the bone armor, streams of yellow smoke spread over it. When Jingling realized that something was wrong, it was too late. He gritted his teeth, and when he was about to collapse, the bone spurs on the bone armor exploded directly. 360 degrees without dead angles burst everywhere. When he fell, the bone spurs broke through the yellow fog and directly pierced the opposite figure all over his body. The blood kept flowing, and he let out a shrill scream. On the spot, it was announced that all the winning colleges today would be rewarded with 1,000 gold soul coins each, and the losing colleges would also be rewarded with 500 gold soul coins. In the following days, Blue Tyrant College continued to win. After the first 3 left the field, either Zhao Wu, Juzuking, or Tang San took the field. No one could beat the 3 of them in a one-on-one match. Only Mengren drew lots and met Blue Tyrant College. After seeking the consent of the competition party, he insisted on having a duel with Yun Feng, but he was defeated by Yun Feng in just a few moves. There were 14 qualifying matches and 14 consecutive wins. Among all 15 teams, Blue Tyrant College ranked first and won the best ranking in the Tandu Empire division. After the game, Emperor Zuyi was undoubtedly another impassioned encouragement and motivation. Next, the finals will begin soon. That is the real battle to decide who is the strongest college on the continent. As an emperor, Emperor Zuyi certainly cannot leave Tandu City without permission. After the speech, Emperor Zuyi announced that Prince Zhu King would represent him as the envoy of the Tandu Empire to participate in the judging of this competition. The 15 teams from the Tandu Empire will be accompanied by him personally to a city at the junction of the 2 empires for the finals. The finals will be hosted by the Spirit Hall. The teams were given only 3 days to adjust. After 3 days, a total of 15 teams, accompanied by teachers and 500 royal knights, and a group of more than 1,000 people set out for the finals venue, Spirit City. Originally, the finals were not set in Spirit City, but for some reason, the Spirit Hall suddenly made a change. The finals of this session were held in the main city of the Spirit Hall. This city almost completely belongs to the Spirit Hall. It is located at the junction of the 2 empires, and neither of the 2 empires has ownership of it. Most importantly, the Pope's Palace, one of the 2 most noble palaces of the Spirit Hall, is located in the Spirit City. This newly built Pope's Palace is known as the most magnificent building in the entire Douluo continent, and it is precisely because of this newly built Pope's Palace that the Spirit City has become a holy place for all soul masters. It is also an existence like the capital established by the Spirit Hall for itself. It takes about 20 days to travel from Tandu City to Wuhan City. The finals are not very long, because it is a knockout match. There are 33 teams in total. The winner can be decided in less than 10 days. Wuhan Hall attaches great importance to this finals. During the promotion match, Wuhan City has specially opened up a place as the venue for the finals of this year's All-Continent Advanced Soul Master Academy Elite Competition. At the same time, Wuhan City announced a decree. Chapter 330. Regardless of their stance, every soldier who protects the country is amazing. During the start of the competition, non-spirit masters are not allowed to enter to watch the game. Even nobles are not allowed. This makes the finals more mysterious. As for the common people, they will not be dissatisfied with the decree of the Spirit Hall. After all, spirit masters are superior to common people. The Spirit Hall is the temple and holy place in their hearts. Who dares to say anything about the decree issued by the Pope himself? A group of thousands of people set off in a mighty manner. Although each academy is independent, they all represent the Tandu Empire. Compared with the previous preliminaries and promotions, the gunpowder smell is much less, especially the academies with good relationships. They are walking together. For example, Danshui College, Yishu College, and Chiyuo College. As for why the relationship is so good, everyone looked at Yun Feng, who was carrying many beauties around him, and showed envious eyes. The Tandu Empire specially made a total of 15 luxurious giant carriages, specially for the participating team members to ride and rest. Only the carriage that Yun Feng was in was very special. It not only contained women from his own academy, but also women from other academies. Some basic soul guide technology was even used in these carriages, and the shock absorption performance was excellent. It was very stable to sit on it. Of course, these were the only superficial soul guide technologies that were passed down in the entire Douluo continent. Yun Feng had a very comfortable time during this period. Whenever he had something to do, he would go to the Spirit Hall to chat with Bibi Dong, or he would get in touch with Zhu King. Then he would do business with the women. Let them make a fortune every day. The journey was very peaceful, and 10 days passed quickly. Half of the journey to the Spirit City had already passed. In the underground palace of the Spirit Hall, Bibi Dong looked at Yao Gang, who was hanging upside down in the air and swollen all over, and said slowly, "Yao Gang, how do you feel that as long as you turn around, I have to wait for you here?" What a big face! Yao Gang couldn't speak clearly now, and his head was filled with blood flowing backwards all over his body. The reason he could stay awake was because he forcefully absorbed that spiritual power soul bone. Yao Gang hesitated for a long time and couldn't say a word. His eyes were full of humility. He was afraid of death, very scared. Ever since Bibi Dong sent Ghost Buo to pick up Yao Gang last time, Yao Gang was ecstatic, thinking that his revenge could finally be realized. But he didn't expect that when he arrived at the Spirit Hall, Bibi Dong just glanced at him casually and threw him into the dungeon directly. There was no mercy at all. In this way, Yao Gang was locked up for several months in endless torture. He recovered after the beating. Anyway, it would be difficult to kill Yao Gang in the Spirit Hall. Bibi Dong ignored Yao Gang's pleading eyes, but smiled and said, "Calculate the time. Your disciple should be arriving at the Spirit City soon." Yao Gang was immediately excited when he heard this. This is his lifeblood. If something happens to Tang San, what will happen to his theory? He won't allow it. In extreme grief and anger, Yao Gang's hoarse voice finally rang out, "Please don't." Before he finished speaking, he fainted. Seeing Yao Gang like this, Bibi Dong could no longer control herself and burst into laughter. Ha 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 ha. After laughing for a long time, her face suddenly froze and the laughter stopped abruptly. Looking at Yao Gang, who was hung up, Bibi Dong murmured with a cold expression, "How did you treat me in the past? Now I will repay you double. Let you watch your ideal die." After saying that, Bibi Dong disappeared in his dungeon. Yao Gang opened his tightly closed eyes and looked at the direction where Bibi Dong left. His eyes were full of malice and unwillingness. "I want you to die, all of you," Yao Gang shouted angrily in this empty dungeon. Even if his vocal cords were broken and bleeding, he couldn't suppress his anger. "I can help you, but what can you give?" An ethereal and playful voice slowly sounded in Yao Gang's ears. "The escort team of 500 royal knights is comparable to the royal family. Wherever they go, Any city will receive them in the best form. There was no trouble on the way. It is only 4 or 5 days away from Wuhan City. Everyone is curious and excited about this holy land of soul masters, because they know that after this battle, their future life will be different. Whether they continue to practice or go back to the country to be a noble, they don't have to worry about the rest of their lives. However, Dao Wu and others did not gain nothing during this period. The soul power has increased by 1 level. Due to the outstanding performance in the promotion match, Lanba Academy was arranged in the center of the entire team heading to Wuhan City. Dao Wu looked at the knights outside, and there was a hint of curiosity in her eyes. "Brother, why are these knights so uniform?" Yun Feng smiled at Dao Wu's eyes, looking at the sky, as if recalling something. "Soul masters are the best warriors. The royal knights are worthy of being the trump card of the Tandu Empire. They are well organized and have excellent discipline. There is no arrogance at all. Although knights are only the lowest nobles, they are born in the royal knights. Their status in the Tandu Empire is quite extraordinary. They can be strict with themselves along the way, which is the result of their usual training." After thinking for a while, Yun Feng added again, "Regardless of their position, every soldier who protects the country is amazing." Zhu Zuqing also deeply believes this. Just when Dao Wu wanted to ask something, suddenly, a cold breath came from not far away. Their team mostly took the official road, and only took some remote roads where they could take a shortcut, and now is the time to take a shortcut. They are located between 2 low hills. It is said that passing through here can save dozens of miles, and although the mountain path is narrow, it can be considered flat, and the carriage can pass through without any problem. The cold breath came from the mountains on both sides of the path. Naturally, it is not just Lanba Academy that feels it. The captain of the Royal Knights shouted, "Everyone, be alert. Something is happening." The royal knights who were guarding the Soul Masters immediately raised their knight lances. The contestants from the Soul Master Academy looked relaxed. There were so many talented Soul Masters here. What did they need to worry about? Although there were fewer students than the royal knights in terms of number, if they really fought, their strength would not be proportional at all. Moreover, there were many strong teachers among the teachers of each academy, and there were at least a dozen soul masters at level 60 or 70. Such a team was enough to face a large army of more than 10,000 people. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 331 Tang San, Come at Me. At this time, countless rocks rolled down from the hills on both sides like raindrops. These rocks not only appeared very abruptly, but also very neatly. They came quickly towards the bottom. The terrain in front of them was very unfavorable for the entire team. The captain of the Royal Knights quickly issued an order to speed up. The falling rocks were also handed over to the 500 members of the Royal Knights. At this time, the overall quality of the Royal Knights was revealed. Although they were not all soul masters, their overall strength was very strong. The hills on both sides were not too high, which made the gravity of the falling rocks not unbearable. The knights of the Royal Knights retreated a few steps, leaving only a passage in the middle for people to pass through. The knights raised their guns high, facing the falling rocks. They went forward. When the guns moved, the rocks fell. They used the long guns in their hands to continuously pick up the falling rocks one by one. The long guns of the 500 warriors formed a steel defense line. In such an unfavorable terrain, they did not let a single stone pass in front of them in a short time. Yun Feng saw this scene. His eyes narrowed slightly, not because he was afraid of the attack, but just looking at Tang San over there. Is it coming? Yun Feng knew that this attack could not be aimed at him, and Bibi Dong had told him long ago that some potential threats should be forced out. So this attack was prepared for Tang San. Now everyone wanted to know who dared to attack the Royal Knights. This is the territory of the Heaven Empire. Could it be that they were really bandits? Then don't they have eyes? Yun Feng wanted to laugh at this, and felt like everyone was drunk and I was the only one sober. The Royal Knights gradually began to be unable to resist. and some particularly huge stones had already hit the team. At this time, the strength of the Soul Masters was revealed. The elites of the major high-level Soul Master Academies of the Heavened Empire did not panic at all. Each of them released their own martial spirits, protecting the auxiliary Soul Masters inside, and the strong attack and defense Soul Masters outside. The stones flew and were immediately shattered. It didn't even affect the speed of the team's advance and retreat. Seeing that the section of the road between the two hills was about to be passed, the royal knights behind had also begun to retreat. At this moment, a whistle sounded from somewhere, and thousands of black-clad men suddenly appeared on the hills on both sides, rushing down at an extremely alarming speed. At this time, the royal knights were still in the process of retreating. The Soul Masters of the 15 academies could only rely on their own strength to protect themselves. Various dazzling lights began to appear on the Soul Masters, and their martial spirits were released. The soul rings were shining. They were ready to fight. Only young Feng was still lying leisurely on the carriage, not paying any attention to the situation outside. Those who attacked also intentionally or unintentionally avoided the carriage. Others did not think much about it. After all, who dared to come and attack Yun Feng? Don't want to die. The people behind the scenes emphasized it several times. There were two titled Buo sitting in the carriage. If you want to die, you can go there. There was no cooperation between the various academies, but each academy formed a small group, and the appearance of the enemy instead stimulated their bloodiness. Instead of retreating, they advanced, and without the need for anyone to organize them, they had already rushed towards the enemy at a rapid speed. However, something unexpected happened to these young Soul Masters. When they thought they could easily defeat their opponents, they were hit hard by their opponents. The teachers and students of the 14 colleges added up to more than 200 people, and the number of bandits coming down from the mountain was about 1,500. When the two sides came into contact, these bandits actually showed amazing coordination ability. Often 3 or 4 people surrounded one person. The means of attack were simple and powerful. It immediately caught the Soul Masters off guard. After all, their actual combat experience was based on fighting with a few people, and this was the first time they had fought on a large scale. Brilliant soul skills began to appear, but those men in black were extremely cunning. With their very good speed and coordination, ordinary level 1 and level 2 soul skills could hardly do anything to them. And there were Soul Masters among these men in black. There were at least more than 30 powerful Soul Masters above level 50. Once a powerful soul skill appeared, they would immediately go up. On average, there were 2 Soul Masters to deal with each college. In this way, the bandits' wolf pack tactics played a considerable role. The scene was completely in a stalemate. The appearance of the opponent's Soul Master made some people present more certain of their guesses. This was an organized attack. 30 Soul Masters above level 50. This is not a powerful force that any force can possess. How many Soul Masters are there in this world? The total number does not exceed 100,000. There are no more than 5,000 Soul Masters above level 50. 5,000 sounds like a lot, but if it is distributed across the entire continent, it is pitifully small. It is almost unimaginable that a group of bandits can launch such an organized attack, and also have so many high-level Soul Masters. What does level 50 mean? Not only does the title become Soul King, it also means that you can get the first 10,000-year Soul Ring, and behind every 10,000-year Soul Ring is the death of a 10,000-year Soul Beast. How many Soul Kings are needed to hunt a 10,000-year Soul Beast together? It's terrifying to think about it. 1,500 people besieged 14 colleges, and each college was assigned almost 100 enemies. As soon as the battle began, Tang San discovered the problem. The quality of those black-clothed people is obviously much better than that of ordinary people. And why are there so many enemies on his side? It feels like they are all targeting him. And no matter how you look at it, these are specially trained warriors. Their speed and strength are quite good, otherwise, there wouldn't be so few casualties. You know, although they have the advantage in numbers, they are dealing with a team of all Soul Masters. Logically speaking, as a control system, Tang San should not be afraid of group battles, but there are too many people. Tang San didn't count the people crowded in front of him, but there are at least more than 200 people. The blue-silver grass spread out along the ground and quickly pounced on the enemy, but before it could be tied up, the opponent directly crushed the blue-silver grass. Tang San was extremely shocked. Facing so many opponents for the first time, Tang San felt an inexplicable grievance in his heart. Why is this? But there was no time to think about it. Tang San could only show his life-saving trump card. The black small box appeared in Tang San's hand, and the action of winding the mechanism was quickly completed. He began to shoot indiscriminately in front of him. With the clanging sound of metal, Zhuge's divine crossbow spewed out the breath of death. A total of more than 100 crossbow arrows were sprayed out, interweaving into a large net full of the breath of death. Screams were heard continuously, in front of the powerful piercing ability of Zhuge's divine crossbow. The black-clad bandits finally began to cause large-scale casualties. Chapter 332 Whoever stands in my way will die. Zhuge's divine crossbow's penetrating power was so strong that it was enough to shoot through the bodies of several people stacked together at the same time. With just one round of shooting, the number of enemies surrounding them was reduced by half. However, this also completely annoyed the group of people on the opposite side. However, it is not the case that Tang San is the son of destiny. Even a hidden weapon can kill people in the fantasy world. Tang San's arms moved in an illusory rhythm, and countless crystal lights swayed from his fingertips. At that moment, it seemed as if he had 8 arms. It has been a long time since he used hidden weapons, but it does not mean that Tang San will become unfamiliar. He is like the thousand-handed Shura who was born for hidden weapons, constantly bringing the breath of death to the enemy. Once the opponent is determined to be an enemy, he will never hold back. This is the rule in the Tang sect's general outline. How could Tang San forget it? No matter who these masked people are, they obviously did not come with good intentions. Most of the hidden weapons Tang San used were various flying needles. Because the flying needles are small in size, more difficult for the opponent to resist, and easier to carry, from the most common fine iron needles to bone-piercing needles, armor-piercing needles, and overlord needles, all kinds of flying needles of different sizes but all with amazing power kept flying out from his hands. The whole person was like a hedgehog, constantly shaking his thorns. But those spirit masters were not vegetarians. 1 or 2 spirit skills were fine. But when hundreds of spirit skills were thrown together, Tang San couldn't resist. He could only run and fight, but he still suffered a lot of damage. After all, he was not a god. In desperation, Tang San had to expose his trump card. With a wave of his left hand, a small hammer suddenly appeared in his hand. You forced me to do this. I wanted to expose it in the finals. There was a hint of coldness in Tang San's eyes, and his tone was indescribably cold. These people broke his plan, so they couldn't stay in this world. They all deserved to die. Just when Tang San finished speaking, 3 figures rushed towards Tang San at the same time. When these 3 people appeared, Tang San immediately felt that the danger was particularly great. Although these 3 people did not release their martial spirits during the rush, but the pressure they brought to Tang San was quite great. Faced with such danger, Tang San did not sit still and wait for death. The hammer in his hand suddenly grew larger, and the spirit rings appeared. 5 dark black spirit rings suddenly appeared behind Tang San. Those who stand in my way will die. With the shining of the spirit rings, the momentum of swinging the hammer was already particularly intimidating, and now it became even more shiny and oppressive. It felt like a hammer that could destroy the world. Feng was dumbfounded when he saw this scene. Did Tang San have a brain seizure? Or did Gang not remind him? Now he started to practice the clear sky hammer, and the conflict between the twin martial spirits was resolved. No consideration for future development? I can't figure it out. I really can't figure it out. The battle continued, but soon Tang San regretted it a little. Why did he pretend to be so powerful? Because he clearly felt that the pressure from the 3 people almost made him collapse. In other words, the combined strength of these 3 people would never be inferior to a Soul Duo above level 80. That is not something that a Soul King at level 50 can achieve. How could there be such a powerful Soul Master among the enemies? The 3 men in black confirmed Tang San's guess with the number of their spirit rings. 8, 7, 7. 1 Soul Duo and 2 Soul Saints released their martial spirits. Although Tang San was very powerful, with 5 rings. Who wouldn't panic when the clear sky hammer with 5 10,000-year spirit rings came down? But now he didn't have as many additional plugins as Yun Feng. It was considered a monster to be able to fight a level 60 Soul Emperor or a level 70 Soul Saint. But there were 2 Soul Saints on the opposite side and 1 Soul Duo. Tang San's hammer was easily blocked by the 3 people, but Tang San was also a smart man. Seeing that the attack failed, he hurriedly retreated and ran away quickly with the ghost shadow phantom. He ran directly to the carriage where Yun Feng was, seeking protection. Yun Feng couldn't help laughing when he saw Tang San like this, but he still didn't make a move. The 3 people on the opposite side looked at Tang San running to Yun Feng, looked at each other, and froze in place for a while. They didn't know whether to fight or not. Tang San looked at the 3 people on the opposite side and stopped moving, and instantly became arrogant. "Come on. Why don't you dare to come? You don't dare to come after seeing Brother Chi here, right? A bunch of little trash." Tang San started to mock, instantly attracted everyone's attention. Yun Feng smiled and said slowly, "Well done, Sanzi, but this is a good opportunity to train you. When you can't beat them, I will come to help you." Hearing Yun Feng's voice that didn't sound fake, Tang San was stunned. Just when he was about to say something, the 3 people on the opposite side rushed over. Frightened, Tang San had no choice but to run away again. Constantly shuttling on the battlefield, Flanders saw that this was not going to work, so he joined forces with Meng Shenji and others to stop the attack from the opposite side. But there were only 2 people here. Even if they stopped a Soul Duo and a Soul Saint, there was still a Soul Saint and a bunch of Soul Kings and Soul Emperors chasing Tang San. But there were still some big guys in the 15 colleges that came. Even except for the Blue Tyrant College, there was no action. The Alien Beast College also stood up. The Soul Saint in the air frowned, looked at the old man in an unfriendly tone and said slowly, "Mengshu, you'd better not get involved in what's going on here, otherwise you won't know how you died." Dragon Lord Mengshu smiled faintly, but the anger in his eyes was particularly glaring. "Why? You are allowed to attack and kill my granddaughter and come to trouble us, but we are not allowed to fight back." His words were full of sarcasm. Now everyone can see that these black-clothed people in front of them are definitely not bandits. If bandits can have Soul Duo sitting in front of them, wouldn't the world be in chaos? "Mengshu, do you really want to go against us? Think about the consequences. This is not something you can participate in." Dragon Lord Mengshu's eyes flashed with a fierce light, and his tone became low. "You think I was scared all these years, and you can fight if you want to, but you are so nagging." Obviously, Dragon Lord Mengshu is not an easy person to get along with. Not to mention that his wife, Snake Lady Zhao Tangxian, is also here now. Will he be afraid? The Snake Lady, who had already reached the Soul Saint realm, was now resisting the attacks of 2 Soul Kings of over 50 levels with her own strength. Feeling the gaze from the air, she also responded coldly. The Soul Saint in the sky was also nervous. In fact, he couldn't deal with Long Gong alone, but his martial spirit had a certain restraining effect on these 2 people, so he could also delay them for a while. But if the 2 of them attacked together, he would not know how he would die. Their martial spirit fusion skill, Dragon and Snake joint attack, had already reached a superb level. Even the titled Duo could compete with it, let alone him. But he was not without a backup plan. After all, the person behind the scenes had also considered this. Chapter 333, Old Ghost. Here comes the big job. A sharp cry came out of his mouth, and the piercing cry broke through the air. The face of the Dragon Lord Mengshu changed slightly. "You actually have an accomplice?" The Soul Saint in the sky smiled coldly and said to Mengshu, "Mengshu, I advise you to take the Snake Lady away from here as soon as possible. We will never hurt your granddaughter. If you don't leave, you won't be able to leave later. After all, I'm just an errand boy." The face of the Dragon Lord Mengshu also changed when he heard this. Seeing the calm look on the other side, he had already had some thoughts of retreating in his heart. After all, he only needed to hug his granddaughter, and there was no need to confront the other side. Sure enough, when Mengshu was thinking about this matter, a voice came from the sky. "Lord Ila, you are really going backwards as you grow older. Can't you handle such a simple situation?" When he called Lord Ila's name, He seemed to be still far away, but when he finished the last word, the figure had quietly appeared in front of everyone. It was still a masked man. His age could not be seen, and his voice could not tell. However, he was not wearing black clothes, but a white mask. When this man appeared, Tang San and the others did not feel anything, but Meng Shu snorted and quickly stepped back. His expression changed drastically. Invisible pressure swept over him. Old man. Seeing this, the snake woman Zhao Tangxian also rushed over quickly. The two of them joined forces to barely resist the momentum of the opponent. The man in white laughed strangely. So it's an old friend. No wonder Lord Er couldn't handle it. Long time no see, the peerless dragon and snake couple. You are so brave that you actually forced me to show up. Long Gong's face became extremely solemn. You are here too, the man in white said in his extremely feminine voice. Seeing that I am here, why don't you get out of here quickly? You should understand how serious we are about this matter. Okay. Long Gong agreed surprisingly happily, and turned around and left with the snake woman, without even stopping for a moment. Seeing that his grandparents didn't dare to mess with the opposite side, Mengren looked at Yun Feng and said quickly, Yun Feng, come with us. Yun Feng pointed at himself in surprise. Mengren eagerly grabbed Yun Feng's hand and wanted to take Yun Feng away. When Yun Feng saw this, he was very surprised. He and Mengren didn't have much communication. Could it be that he liked him? After thinking about this, Yun Feng smiled. Don't miss it if it's free. But now is not the time, so he said directly, you don't have to leave. Stay by my side. As long as your grandparents don't take action, everything will be fine. Mengren wanted to persuade him again, but suddenly heard the masked man in white on the opposite side said, my friend is very courageous. You stay by Yun Feng's side and don't take action. I promise you will be fine. As soon as these words came out, a large number of people ran to the carriage where Yun Feng was. Tang San naturally wanted to move over there too. But how could those assassins in black let Tang San go so easily? They attacked Tang San again. All of these contestants looked bitter. It would be fine if they just attacked Tang San. After all, they could hide by Yun Feng's carriage. But since the man in white appeared, those assassins in black immediately turned their guns around and began to attack the students and teachers indiscriminately. For a time, the pressure increased greatly. Everyone was busy with their own business. Zhuge Yan couldn't bear to see his good friend Yi Lingling in such a fighting environment. He came to Yun Feng's side, pointed at Yun Feng's waist, and motioned to save him. Yun Feng naturally didn't say anything about such a small request. He directly took action and saved Yi Lingling, who was in danger. He avoided the result of death. Yun Feng looked at the two sides of the battle and naturally knew why. But he didn't care much. After all, he could sense that Tang Hao was still lurking nearby, so there was no need to worry about Tang San's safety. As for why he only had such great hostility towards the Tandu Royal Academy, everyone present had guesses. He remembered what Emperor Zuyi said to the Platinum Bishop of the Spirit Hall before. It was just one step away from a falling out, so there was no need to think about it, and he knew which force this was. Who else but the Spirit Hall could be so generous? What shocked everyone even more was that a special breath with a faint fragrance emanated from the man in white, and when it spread to them in an instant, their bodies could no longer move, let alone use their soul power. What did it prove to scare away the peerless dragon and snake? What did it mean to shout at the soul Buo? All signs showed the strength of this man in white. This is definitely a titled Buo. Flanders and Meng Shenji were also pale. Who did they provoke to deserve such treatment? The endless stream of spirit skills, like rain, continuously hit them. Tang San's current condition is not very good. Facing a large number of enemies, Tang San is overwhelmed and his spirit power is almost exhausted. The injuries on his body are even more tragic. Basically, his whole body is injured. Yun Feng looked at this scene with a strange look in his eyes. He secretly complained in his heart. What's wrong with Tang Hao? So patient. His son is about to die, and he can still bear not to take action? Yun Feng had no idea why this was happening. Tang Hao was also very conflicted now that he knew Tang San was not his son. It was some old monster that had taken over his son's body, but Tang San was still somewhat useful to him. In short, he was very conflicted. He wanted Tang San to suffer more, but he didn't want him to die in his heart. Another reason was that he had redeemed a woman from a brothel during this period, and she was already pregnant. The baby would be born in 8 months. At the current speed, if he waited a few more years, and Tang San's cultivation speed, in 6 years, Tang Hao would still have the confidence to kill him. He just wanted to see if his second child would also inherit his or his mother's martial spirit. By then, the bloodline of the Blue-Silver Emperor would not have to be given to this disgusting thing. Wouldn't it be better to leave it to his own baby? The big baby would be used as cannon fodder for his revenge. But at the moment, Tang Hao couldn't help but stand up when he saw Tang San, whose soul power was exhausted. Boom! A huge hammer fell from the sky and smashed directly in front of Tang San. Who dares to bully my son? Tang Hao slowly descended from the sky, and the sound like a bell echoed in everyone's ears. The giant hammer fell and blocked all the soul skills that attacked Tang San. Looking at the 9 soul rings on Tang Hao's body, one of which was red, the man in white swallowed his saliva nervously. Old ghost, come and do something big. Chapter 334. The thunder was loud but the rain was small. A black figure appeared silently beside the man in white. What was shocking was that the figure could not be seen clearly. Even Tang San's purple demon eye could only capture a faint shadow. Tang Hao raised his eyes slightly and sneered. A chrysanthemum, a little devil, you still want to fight me again? Everyone was terrified. There were only a dozen titled Luo on the mainland. How come 3 of them appeared here now? The man in white and the black shadow looked at each other, and their hearts were extremely bitter. They just wanted to catch Tang San. Although everyone knew some things, they couldn't talk about them openly. That's why they didn't reveal their identities. It was just a simple excuse. Now facing Tang Hao, the pressure on the two was unprecedented. Tang Hao didn't act immediately. He also had worries in his heart. The Hashin sect had been forced to retreat and cut off its relationship with him. Now there was no power behind him. If a fight really broke out, he might really be dragged down and die here. After the momentum of the 3 people collided for a while, the man in white and the black shadow said helplessly, "Let's retreat. The image of the spirit hall cannot be destroyed by them. I just don't know how to explain to the Pope." With the voices of the 2 titled Luo, the people below also scattered like fish and birds. They fled one after another. Tang Hao looked at Tang San deeply, without saying a word, and left this place directly. After all, this place is still too close to the spirit hall. What if there is an ambush? With the disappearance of the 3 people, everyone fell into confusion. The thunder was loud, but the rain was small. It was a lonely fight. Except for the death of some insignificant people, both sides seemed to have no losses. Tang San couldn't hold on any longer. His eyes turned black, and he collapsed to the ground and fell asleep. After all, his injuries were not light. Not only Tang San was like this, many guards were almost seriously injured. Many people were missing arms and legs. The remaining 14 colleges looked at each other, and now they didn't know what to do. They were even a little afraid to treat them. After all, no one here is a fool, and they knew that someone must be targeted by the spirit hall. "How dare you attack?" Yi Lengalin was still reluctant, and the purple begonia blossomed from her hands, and the healing energy slowly floated towards the injured people. But she was alone, and she couldn't save so many people. After a while, there was movement in the distance. Emperor Zuyi followed Ning Fengzi, Chen Xin, Gurong and Zhu King to rush here. Seeing Emperor Zuyi's face like black charcoal, he sighed in his heart. "You said you don't have the ability to tear your face with the spirit hall now, why do you still mock it?" Emperor Zuyi naturally got the information and rushed here, but Chen Xin brought him along. As for Zhu King, he watched from behind with Ning Fengzi and Gurong. The reason why he didn't attack immediately was to observe how much strength the opponent had sent out. In the previous battle, they were not in a hurry to appear. Originally, when the man in white was about to attack for the second time, Gurong was ready to attack, but who knew that Tang Hao would come out halfway. In this way, the battle lost suspense. It doesn't matter whether they appear or not. But after they left, Chen Xin came with Emperor Zuyi. They naturally had to go forward. After forcing the opponent back, everyone felt relieved. If the Soul Master Academy didn't care when the bandits first appeared, when the 2 titled Buo appeared one after another, Their hearts were already in their throats. That was a tidal Duo. Today, there were 4 of them, almost equivalent to a quarter or a fifth of the entire continent, in front of the tidal Duo. They were so small, but it was precisely because of this that they were more grateful to Yun Feng. Although Yun Feng did not take action, the opponent did not attack this side, which was also a benefit of Yun Feng. Emperor Zuyi was very angry and a little regretful. Angry why the Spirit Hall dared to do this. Regret why he mocked Cyrus and the Spirit Hall at the scene of the Soul Master competition. Emperor Zuyi opened his mouth several times, but couldn't say a word. The blood in his body began to accelerate under this huge anger. He didn't breathe smoothly, and he vomited blood and fainted. Zhu King was so sad to see the scene that he hurriedly supported the body of Emperor Zuyi and placed him on an open space. Ning Fengzi frowned slightly and looked at the appearance of Emperor Zuyi. He used his soul power to check and said slowly, "Your father is fine, he just got angry." After his simple arrangement, someone was still needed to take charge of the overall situation. Zhu King, who had no other choice, also fully demonstrated the imperial education he had received since childhood. When the enemy retreated, he immediately began to command the royal knights in an orderly manner, pulling the undamaged carriages to the front, treating the war horses, and restoring the formation. After a while, in addition to the dead war horses, the 500 royal knights died and only less than 200 were left. But most of the survivors recovered their combat effectiveness. The black-clothed bandits did not have enough killing intent when they fought before, and most of them just defended and fought to buy time for the 2 tidal Duo. Even so, they caused such a big loss, but the opponent was not in a good situation either. Tang San killed more than 100 people with his highly poisonous hidden weapons. It's almost equal. Yun Feng yawned and said slowly, "It's a bit boring." Then he returned to the gentle land. Zhu King finished what he should do, and then returned to Ning Fengzi, respectfully saying, "Teacher, what do you think we should do next?" Ning Fengzi smiled indifferently, "Continue to move forward according to the original plan. With this battle, they will not act rashly again. After all, they will not pay too much for these people. Yes, keep moving forward." The whole team continued to move forward, but the atmosphere had obviously become tense. Everyone was worried whether the opponent would come again. They were also worried whether it would be them next time, but after thinking carefully, it seemed impossible. After all, they did not offend the Spirit Hall, and most of the academies still had a good impression of the Spirit Hall. The most worried were Flanders and others. After all, they were not good people. When they were in Shrek before, most of the teachers were wanted. Flanders' monocle was directly broken in this battle, leaving a big black eye on his eye socket. He was originally thin, but he was beaten and swollen, and blood was flowing out uncontrollably. His hair was messy. Flanders thought a lot. He didn't think that the Spirit Hall sent 2 tidal Duo just because of such a small matter. It was not normal no matter how he thought about it, but the thing had already happened, and he didn't know what to say. Chapter 335. You don't think that if you look back, I will wait for you, right? It can't be caused by Yao Gang's incident. That shouldn't be the case. After all, doesn't the Pope like Yao Gang the most? Ning Fengzi sighed as he looked at the intact carriage where Yun Feng was. Zhu King in the carriage asked Yun Feng a question. "Brother, why don't we go and save Tang San? Isn't he still useful to you?" Yun Feng smiled. "His father is here, so we don't have to worry about anything. But during the competition, this kid will have a hard time." Then he said, "Do you know why Tang Hao and Rong's father didn't reveal the identity of the Spirit Hall?" Although the girls had some guesses in their hearts, they still shook their heads. "Why?" Yun Feng smiled and said slowly, "You can see it, right? Those should be people from the Spirit Hall. Even those ordinary black-clothed people are all Spirit Masters, and they are all at least 3 ringed Spirit Masters. Only the Spirit Hall can mobilize 2 tidal Duo at the same time. Only the Spirit Hall can mobilize thousands of Spirit Masters. Even if the 7 major sects use all their strength to compete with them, they can never mobilize like the Spirit Hall. That's why they don't expose them. I don't want everyone here to die because of this. Do you think that after the Spirit Hall makes it clear that this happened, they will let everyone who knows about it go?" The eyes of the women all showed a trace of shock. "Murder to silence them?" Yun Feng nodded. "Earlier, The Earth Dragon and the Snake Woman didn't say it, Tang Hao didn't say it, and we didn't say it either, because we didn't want to give the Spirit Hall a reason to kill people. This time they suffered a loss. In order not to expose the identity of the Spirit Hall, those low-level soul lords didn't release their spirits. Otherwise, do you think Tang San could kill those people so easily? By the time they reacted, the losses had already occurred. Ning Rong also said when she saw this, then why didn't they just assassinate Tang San directly? And why did they have to make such a big fuss? Yun Feng smiled mysteriously. How can assassination show strength? After all, the Emperor Zui of the Heaven Empire directly slapped him in the face. After Yun Feng said this, everyone understood. The most important thing about the collision between forces is face. Brother, do you know the two titled Duo in the Spirit Hall? Yun Feng pondered for a moment, then slowly spoke. The first person in white is named Yu Guan. His spirit is Chrysanthemum, and his title is Chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum Duo. His spirit power is about 94 to 95. That strange Chrysanthemum is very powerful. The black shadow that appeared later is named Ghost, and his level is about the same as Chrysanthemum Duo. His spirit is very strange. It is Ghost, and his name is also Ghost. It is said that no one except the Pope has ever seen his true face. He is a powerful soul Duo of the agility attack system. Physical attacks are difficult to work on him. He is definitely one of the most difficult titled Duo. Dao Wu's eyes also flashed with curiosity. Will Tang San still participate in the finals? Yun Feng smiled. I'm not a god. How can I understand the other side's thoughts? But they should be fine if they go to the Spirit Hall. After all, if something happens in the Spirit City, it will have a bad impact if it gets out, and the Spirit Hall should not attack them. Spirit Hall. In the huge meeting hall of thousands of square meters, there were only Gui Mai and Yu Guan, who smiled bitterly and thought about how to explain later. After all, they sent out so many spirit masters, but they didn't take down Tang San. What a shame. In fact, the two knew in their hearts that it was mainly because of carelessness. If they had taken action directly without considering their own self-esteem, the mission would have been completed. But after all, masters are all stylish. Who would go on the field in person when there are soldiers under their command? The 3-meter-high archway opened, and a soft voice sounded outside the door. You wait outside, and no one is allowed to disturb you without my order. Yes. The two maids bowed and nodded, and slowly retreated. The door opened, and a woman walked in from outside. She was not tall, wearing a luxurious black robe with gold patterns, a 9-curved purple gold crown on her head, and holding a scepter about 2 meters long inlaid with countless gems in her hand. She had fair skin. Her nearly perfect face made her look so different. Have you completed your mission? Yu Guan and Gui Mai shuddered. Although the woman's voice was soft, anyone could hear the anger in her tone. Gui Mai glanced at Yu Guan and chose to keep silent. He was not good at speaking. Let's leave this job to his good friend. The resentment in Yu Guan's eyes was about to overflow, but he still chose to explain himself. He was also afraid that Gui Mai's explanation would get worse and worse, so he might as well do it himself. Your Holiness, the thing is, then he told everything that had happened before, including Tang Hao's appearance and Yun Feng's protection. After listening, Bibi Dong also pondered for a while. After a long time, he sighed and said slowly, "That's it." Yu Guan saw Bibi Dong's expression, hesitated for a moment, and decided to ask, "Pope, do we still want to continue?" Bibi Dong looked into the distance and opened her red lips slightly. "Forget it. Let's just leave it like this. It won't sound good if it gets out." Yu Guan and Gui Mai looked at each other and bowed and retreated. Only Bibi Dong was left in the hall, murmuring, "Yun Feng, don't let me down." In fact, Yun Feng knew about this attack. After all, he had been running to Bibi Dong's place whenever he had nothing to do during this period. With the exchange of information, Bibi Dong naturally told Yun Feng the news. However, Yun Feng did not say that he would protect Tang San, but just told Bibi Dong to take care of it herself. This time, it was just as Yun Feng expected. Tang Hao had been protecting Tang San. Yu Gang, you are really lucky. You can't kill Tang San even with this. But then Bibi Dong's emotions became obviously excited, and her eyes were as cold as a venomous snake. Twin martial spirits, Tang San has gone astray. Your apprentice will die without me doing anything. Ha ha ha. Bibi Dong, in a good mood, also went directly to the underground palace. Yu Gang heard the voice and raised his head with difficulty. The blood flowed down his head, blocking his sight. A hoarse voice sounded slowly. Kill me, please, please. Yu Gang is not in a good condition now. His hands and legs are nailed to the wall. There are scars all over his body. Not a single part is intact. Every time he is healed, someone will come to torture Yu Gang again. It is said that women who turn love into hate are the most terrifying. Bibi Dong smiled, took a few steps forward, and sat upright on the chair facing Yu Gang. Here she did not have those airs, but was very happy. Hey, Dao Gang, you said you were living a good life. Why did you have to come to the spirit hall to suffer? Then Bibi Dong became playful, as if she had thought of something. She covered her mouth with one hand, and said in surprise, "Ah, you don't think that if you come back, I will always be waiting for you here." Chapter 336 Yu Gang's collapse. Yu Gang's hoarse voice was like a dry desert, and he uttered two words with difficulty. Poisonous woman. After hearing this, Bibi Dong laughed even harder. Poisonous woman, isn't it because you guys forced me to do that? By the way, this time I came to tell you a piece of news about your beloved disciple. Do you want to listen? A glimmer of light flashed in Yu Gang's eyes. The eyes full of death determination burst out with some brilliance. A small piece of tongue was cut off, and at this moment, he spoke more fluently. What happened to my disciple? Bibi Dong said slowly word by word. I sent people to attack and kill your disciple Tang San, 2 titled Buo, several soul Buo, and the rest of the soul masters add up to more than 300. Yu Gang was stunned when he heard the news, and then he said angrily, Poisonous woman, if you have anything, come to me. Seeing Yu Gang like this, the smile on Bibi Dong's face became even brighter. In fact, it is not surprising that Yu Gang was so excited. No one would think that Tang San could survive in such a situation. He is a titled Buo. However, Yu Gang's performance was too fake. Bibi Dong laughed for a long time before stopping. She said with a look of regret, it is a pity that they failed in their mission and failed to kill Tang San. They were only seriously injured. Yu Gang's mood fluctuated greatly after hearing this news. The blood in his body began to get excited along with his faster heart rate, and could not stop flowing out. Ha 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 ha, I knew it. How could Zhao San die? He has Yun Feng and his father Tang Hao by his side. 2 titled Buo want to kill him. It's impossible. In this situation, Yu Gang's tone of voice became much more relaxed, and even the pleasure exceeded the physical pain. Looking at Yu Gang in such pain, Bibi Dong's face also revealed a trace of disappointment. Yes, it's a pity that we couldn't kill Tang San. Tang San is too powerful. He is now a 5-ring Soul King. Can you guess how he got his Soul King level? Yu Gang's eyes condensed, as if he thought of something. When he left, Tang San was only a Soul Lord, and he had just reached the Soul Lord not long ago. Why is he a Soul King now? Impossible. Impossible. Zhao San is not that stupid. The conflict between his twin martial spirits has not been resolved yet. Bibi Dong also showed a hint of surprise at this time. So, there are things that you, a master of theory, don't know? What a pity. I see that Tang San's martial spirit has turned into that little hammer, and it has 5 10,000-year soul rings. Yu Gang's body shook violently, and he turned around and stared at Bibi Dong. Tell me the secret of how you solved the twin martial spirits. Bibi Dong. Bibi Dong's voice suddenly became cold. Yu Gang, do you think I'm still the little girl I used to be? Why should I help you? Do you want me to train a strong man to fight against me? Bibi Dong asked 3 questions, which made Yu Gang at a loss. After a long while, she said, if you are willing to tell me how you did it, I can assure you that my disciple will never fight against the spirit hall in his life. Bibi Dong almost laughed out tears when she heard this. Why should my spirit hall care about a little Tang San? When Bibi Dong finished this sentence, Yun Feng suddenly appeared from behind Bibi Dong and stood beside her. They had been in contact before, and this time Bibi Dong called them over directly. Although it was still a little far from the spirit city, But with Yun Feng's speed, it didn't take too long to get here. I didn't know what was going on before. Now after seeing Yu Gang, I instantly knew what Bibi Dong's attitude was. Seeing Yu Gang in such a miserable state, and listening to what Bibi Dong said, I couldn't help but applaud. Well said, the Pope is so domineering. Yu Gang was stunned for a moment. Bibi Dong was a little embarrassed, but Yu Gang was full of expectations. Looking at Yun Feng who suddenly appeared, he shouted loudly, "Yun Feng, help me, save me out. Bibi Dong is not a human. She wants to kill Tang San." Yun Feng and Bibi Dong looked at each other, as if they had reached a consensus. "Ah, isn't this the master?" After not seeing each other for a while, "How come you still offended the Pope?" Yu Gang was also desperate and tried all kinds of methods. After seeing Yun Feng, his brain seemed to be burned out. He didn't think about why Yun Feng came here and why Bibi Dong didn't kill him. "I was imprisoned by Bibi Dong. Yun Feng, save me out, quickly." Looking at Yu Gang's commanding tone, Yun Feng glanced at Bibi Dong, as if to say, "Did you like this thing in the first place?" Bibi Dong also blushed a little, as if her dark history was exposed. Seeing Bibi Dong's reaction, Yun Feng no longer had any worries. Slowly stretched out his hand. Yu Gang saw Yun Feng like this, and thought he was going to release him directly, and his eyes showed excitement. Yes, that's it, let me go quickly." Yun Feng frowned, stretched out his hand, raised it high, and gave a fierce fight. "Who are you fighting with?" Pia. Yun Feng opened his left hand and slapped with his right hand, and Yu Gang's teeth were slapped off, and he was completely stunned. Bibi Dong couldn't help laughing when she saw this scene. "You don't know that Yun Feng has been a member of our Wuhan Hall for a long time." Yu Gang was stupid, just staring at Yun Feng and Bibi Dong. From hope to despair, hope appeared again, and now it was completely desperate. A series of blows were too heavy for Yu Gang. Yu Gang was not a stupid person. After knowing that Yun Feng was a member of the Wuhan Hall, he thought of the things that happened in the past and felt that something was wrong. Yu Gang seemed to have thought of something, and suddenly said, "So it was you who caused the destruction of Tang San and his companions in the Starred Great Forest?" Yun Feng nodded in disbelief. "Not only that, I was also responsible for your brother, and the entire Shrek. And it was my idea to alienate Flanders from you. By the way, Tang San should have a lot of opinions about you now. After all, your teacher has harmed him more than once, and now his twin martial spirits have been destroyed by him. With Tang San's personality, who will he blame?" Yu Gang spat out a mouthful of blood. He had never thought that a person could be so bad. Compared to Yu Gang's loneliness, Yun Feng and Bibi Dong smiled at each other. "It's so funny to tease a fool." Looking at Yu Gang's ferocious eyes, Bibi Dong was still stunned for a moment. "Is he really that important to you?" Yu Gang's breathing became heavy, and he spoke word by word. "Bibi Dong, listen to me carefully. If anything happens to Tang San, I will destroy the Spirit Hall at all costs. I have been childless all my life, and he is like a son to me." Chapter 337 Bibi Dong's Choice. Feeling Yu Gang's madness, Bibi Dong's face also showed a trace of sick blush, and she said with a hurried breath, "Yu Gang, you are anxious sometimes. Do you remember how you left me back then? For your sister. Funny, really funny. You actually refused to accept me for your sister. I can become the Pope, of course, thanks to you. But I hate you. You are the person I hate most in my life. I just want to make you suffer, let you die in disgrace." Bibi Dong's emotions obviously became excited, and her eyes were as cold as a poisonous snake. Yun Feng smiled secretly when he saw this scene. Without saying much, he just stepped forward and stretched out his hand, holding Bibi Dong's soft hand, placed it on the palm of his hand, and gently squeezed it. "It's okay, I'll be here in the future." If he didn't take advantage of the opportunity, would Yun Feng still be Yun Feng? After saying that, regardless of Yu Gang's feelings, he held Bibi Dong's hand and slowly left the underground palace. Bibi Dong didn't feel anything wrong in this excited mood. On the contrary, Yu Gang had completely broken through all the favorable impressions that Yun Feng had given him. Hatred, endless hatred, enveloped Yu Gang at this moment. Looking at the closed cell door, Yu Gang murmured, I accept your power. As long as you make me stronger, I am willing to do anything. A deep and strange voice slowly sounded in Yu Gang's mind. It should have been done long ago. After the voice ended, a red light fell from the sky, filling Yu Gang's body, and slowly began to repair Yu Gang's wounds. Not long after, Yu Gang's original pupils suddenly turned blood red. The feeling of power is really good. Boom! With a bang in Yu Gang's body, the soul power reached level 30. The 9th test begins. I am looking forward to your performance. Feng, who came out of the dungeon, looked at Bibi Dong, who was still emotionally unstable, and comforted her softly. You have been disappointed in him for a long time. Why are you still so sad? Bibi Dong is a person with a long-lasting love. Even after more than 10 years, her heart still likes the man who once brought a little change to her peaceful and boring life. Even if that man just used her, she has no regrets, but what she can't accept is his betrayal. Now he has rejected her ideals. He also wants her to help her opponent who will bring inconvenience to her future rule. When Yu Gang said that, she completely gave up. She had never seen such a shameless person. Fortunately, Feng was by her side, otherwise she would not be able to control her emotions and might tear Yu Gang into pieces. After a simple comfort, Feng knew that too much was as bad as too little, so he did not continue and disappeared directly from Bibi Dong's sight. Bibi Dong sat on the bed in the palace in a daze, muttering, "Why do you treat me like that? It's not my fault." Why? When Bibi Dong was questioning, a voice full of evil and resentment rang out, "Kill, there are few good people in this world, let's restart this world." Bibi Dong, who was distracted, was immediately attracted by this voice full of evil thoughts. A black air flashed in her eyes. Start the 3rd test. The 9 tests of Rakshasa. Each test is extremely difficult. The first test, devouring the angel soul, using the soul-devouring spider emperor martial spirit to devour Kyank Sunji's body and soul, and start the Rakshasa test. The second test, cultivate to the ultimate Douluo level. Cultivate to the peak of the Soul Master and begin to receive the power of the Rakshasa God. The third test, gather a full set of soul bones and absorb enough death aura. Prepare for the Rakshasa God armor. Go to the starred great forest to absorb a large amount of death aura. The fourth test, devouring soul masters, absorb a large amount of soul master soul power, that is, their resentment and death aura, so that you begin to have the aura of God. The fifth test, evil spirit enters the body, wrap yourself with spider silk and begin to absorb the Rakshasa evil spirit for 200 days. The sixth test, resurrection after death, the body is completely defeated, and then the Rakshasa power is used to restore the body, so that you can completely absorb part of the power of the gods. The seventh test, achieve dual soul dual title Duo, hunt soul beasts to make up for the last two soul rings of the soul-devouring spider emperor martial spirit. Eighth test, get the heart of Rakshasa, come to a dark room. There is only a template similar to the shape of a spider, in the middle is the heart of Rakshasa, around the powerful soul power. If the strength is not enough, it will easily be destroyed. Only by getting the heart of Rakshasa can you be considered to have half a foot in the position of Rakshasa. Ninth test, Rakshasa inheritance, obtain all the evil spirits in the world, obtain the Rakshasa sickle, and achieve the position of Rakshasa. Now she only needs to collect all the soul bones to complete the goal. The Soul Master team of Tandu Empire continued to move forward. There were no more accidents on the way. In order to better protect these Soul Masters, Prince Zuking temporarily transferred 3,000 armored soldiers from the cities he passed by to assist in the guards. At the same time, he also summoned some Soul Masters from the imperial capital to come quickly. The speed of the journey was still very fast, and it was not far from Wuhan City. Tandu Royal Academy did not withdraw from the competition. They also wanted to win at this time. Everyone held their breath. They wanted to question Wuhan Hall. Why did they come to attack and kill them? What did they do wrong? Finally, the whole team arrived at Wuhan City. Because of the special regulations of Wuhan City, Zuking ordered the Iron Armored Army and the Royal Knights to garrison outside the city. He led 15 Soul Master teams into Wuhan City. Compared with huge cities like Tandu City and Soto City, Wuhan City is much smaller. It is not even 1/10 the size of Tandu City. However, it still shocked the Soul Masters. Although Wuhan City is not large in area, the city wall is definitely built according to the standard of the capital city. The 80-meter-high city wall looks extremely majestic from the outside. The thickness of the city wall is also more than 30 meters. It is completely repaired with granite. Even Ning Fengzi, who has strong financial resources, can't help but admire it when he sees Wuhan City. You know, this city didn't exist originally, and it was built entirely by the Wuhan Hall. How easy is it to build such a city? The most peculiar thing is that Wuhan City is not a quadrilateral like an ordinary city, but a hexagon. That is, it has a total of 6 city walls. All the Soul Masters who are responsible for patrolling on the city wall are wearing special clothes of the Wuhan Hall. On each of the 6 walls, there is a huge relief, exactly the same as the one on the Spirit Hall token. It symbolizes the 6 powerful spirits. Walking into the Spirit City, it gives people a feeling of emptiness. There are not many pedestrians on the street, and there are few shops. Most of the shops sell some items needed by Spirit Masters. They even sell space storage type spirit guides. Of course, the quality is a bit worse. The one who came out to greet the Spirit City was a cardinal. Under his leadership, the group of more than 200 people were quickly settled. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 338 Douluo Palace. They stayed in a hotel on the west side of Wuhan City. What surprised everyone was that even the staff in the hotel were all great soul masters with soul power of at least level 20. Although Yun Feng had been here several times, he had never visited it carefully, so he called the girls and went outside together. The girls and Yun Feng carefully observed other special places in Wuhan City outside. They wanted to find out what was different between Wuhan City and the outside. After a simple observation, Yun Feng and others found that the hexagonal Wuhan City was built around a hill. On this hill, there were 2 very eye-catching buildings. The building on the hillside was the most magnificent, and it could be clearly seen even from such a distance. It was a completely columnar structure with a dome. The facade of the building was covered with golden material, which shone brightly under the sunlight. Without thinking too much, everyone knew that it was the brand new Pope's Palace. The supreme ruler of the Wuhan Palace lived there. Along the way, from Ning Fengzi and Zhu King, everyone also learned that the Elder Hall of the Spirit Hall was also in the Pope's Hall. Of course, those elders were impossible for ordinary people to see. Another building was on the top of the hill. It was much smaller than the Pope's Hall, about 1/3 the size of the Pope's Hall. The building structure was somewhat similar, but the facade was as white as jade, far less eye-catching than the Pope's Hall. However, when everyone saw that building, they could clearly feel the inexplicable pressure. Ning Rongarong looked at her father and asked slowly, "Dad, what is that called over there?" Ning Fengzi's eyes became serious, looking at the white jade palace in the distance, and after a while he sighed and said slowly, "That, it's called Douluo Hall. Only the dead titled Douluo can live in this place, which can also be said to be the tomb of the titled Douluo. The reason why there is a pious atmosphere here is not because of the Pope's Hall, but because of this Douluo Hall." Then Ning Fengzi also began to talk about some information about the Douluo Hall. No matter where the Pope's Palace is built, the Douluo Palace will be built along with it, and the location of the Douluo Palace must be higher than that of the Pope's Palace. Every time a grand sacrifice is held, the Pope will personally go to the door of the Douluo Palace to worship, but even he has no right to enter the Douluo Palace before his death. This is a rule that no one can violate, otherwise, all soul masters will attack in groups. It is precisely because of the existence of the Pope's Palace and the Douluo Palace that Wuhan City was called the Holy Land of Soul Masters by the Wuhan Palace after its establishment. Of course, this is also recognized by most soul masters. Because of the attack on the way, most of the people who came to participate in the competition did not choose to go out. They were afraid of any accidents. Yun Feng and others did not care about these. They ate, drank and played in Wuhan City. There is one thing that must be admitted: the security, environment, and satisfaction of residents in Wuhan City are all top-notch. Everyone's face is basically filled with happy smiles. There are more soul masters here than ordinary people, but ordinary people here don't feel that they are being oppressed. Yun Feng saw this scene and couldn't help but ponder for a while. What does this mean? Everyone basically has the answer in their hearts. Even though the Spirit Hall has many shortcomings in the eyes of outsiders, but in terms of protecting civilians, it is still ahead of all countries. According to the news from the Spirit Hall, the competition will officially start in 3 days. The 3 days of rest are enough for the colleges to adjust after a tiring journey. The colleges participating in the Xinghuo Empire were arranged to rest on the other side of the Spirit City. Invisibly, the Spirit Hall has divided the participating teams of the two empires into 2 camps. In 3 days, everyone in the Blue Tyrant College remained in a state of rest, spending all their time in meditation to cultivate soul power, trying to keep themselves in the best condition. Yun Feng also went to the Spirit Hall to find Bibi Dong several times. He even went to see Yao Gang a few times. Seeing that Yao Gang's injuries were almost healed, Yun Feng didn't think much about it, because those soul masters cured him. It's just that he beat Yao Gang again. But after returning, Yun Feng could clearly feel that Yao Gang was wrong. There seemed to be something more in his eyes. It was a look of hope. Even though Yao Gang hid very deeply, Yun Feng still found it. Something is wrong. Very wrong. Thinking of this, Yun Feng activated the 5th soul skill in a corner where no one noticed, and brainwashed Yao Gang. He could kill him directly, but he didn't know the situation of Bibi Dong yet. He didn't want to leave any uncertain factors for himself. This is how to do it, to be safer. Long has not been idle during this period, and has been busy inquiring about various information. Although Yun Feng is here, but she thinks that as a team leader, she feels a little guilty for doing nothing. So she also collected the information of each team and some rules of the game. 3 days passed in a flash. The finals are about to begin. Long summoned everyone. Long swept his eyes over everyone and said, "The finals are about to begin. I think you may have forgotten the competition system I mentioned before. I will repeat it again. There are a total of 33 teams participating in the finals. Among them, 3 seed teams are selected by the 2 empires and the Spirit Hall respectively. One of the seed teams is us. So the biggest threat to you is undoubtedly the team selected by the Spirit Hall Academy. They are also the biggest stumbling block for you to win the final victory. But I believe that there will be no accidents with Yun Feng present, but knowing yourself and the enemy will ensure victory in every battle." Then Liu Long began to explain the rules to Yun Feng and others. In short, Lanba Academy, as the seed team among the 33 teams, can have a bye in the first round, and the remaining 30 teams will compete for 15 qualifying places. There will be a day of rest and adjustment between each round and the next round. There are 3 days of adjustment before the final 5th round. The loser will be eliminated directly, and the cruel elimination match will definitely make each Spirit Master team fight harder. In the second round, the first place college of the promotion tournament of the 2 empires will have a bye, which means that Yun Feng and others can have a bye again. After all, they are the first place in the Tandu Empire. At that time, 16 teams will compete to select 8 teams to enter the 3rd round, plus the 2 teams of the Tandu Empire and Xinghuo Empire that have a bye, a total of 10 teams. The 3rd round is for the 2nd place in the promotion tournament. There is no chance of a bye in the 4th round, a total of 5 rounds, so it means that Yun Feng and others only need to play 3 games. In the 5th round, which is also the last round, there are only 3 teams entering the competition. The 3 teams will first use the promotion tournament method to eliminate 7 players each to determine the team with the strongest individual strength. Then the 2 losing teams will have a team battle, and the winner will challenge the winner of the previous individual competition to determine the final champion. Chapter 339 Loophole in the rules. The rules were very simple, and no one present would not understand. Yun Feng also stood up and said slowly, "At this time, as long as we keep winning, the championship is ours. Why think so much?" Long smiled and rolled his eyes at Yun Feng, but the truth was indeed this truth. There was nothing to say. As long as we keep winning, it would be fine. Yun Feng was still very confident about this. He didn't think that the Wuhan team could beat him. Even if it was 1 against 7, it would be impossible. The game started soon. For the finals of the elite competition of the Advanced Soul Master Academy of the continent, Wuhan City specially opened up a special venue. This venue is located in the center of Wuhan City. The huge arena is also 100 meters in diameter and is completely repaired with granite. On this huge competition stage, a large number of soul guides are also used to reinforce it to prevent damage. According to the information given by the Wuhan Hall, this venue is enough to withstand any attack from soul masters below the Soul Emperor without being damaged. However, considering the factor of Yun Feng, the Wuhan Hall specially reinforced the venue and spent a huge amount of money, so that it can withstand attacks below the Soul Saint. Hearing this, everyone was also impressed that only a wealthy organization like the Spirit Hall would do this. At least the two empires were reluctant to spend such a huge amount of resources. Right in front of this competition stage is the Pope's Palace. From here, the hill where the Pope's Palace is located is less than a kilometer away. The Spirit Hall has announced in the posted notice that the final 3 will compete in front of the Pope's Palace. At that time, the Pope will appear in person and crown the final champion. For any Soul Master, this is an incomparable honor. Early in the morning, all participating colleges were led by the Spirit Hall's special personnel to the competition venue. Each college has a separate rest area. The rest area is built around the competition venue. On the side opposite to the Pope's Palace is the VIP judge's seat. People who came on behalf of the two empires were watching the game there, and of course, there were people from the Spirit Hall. As soon as the other teams arrived here, they were called over to draw lots before they settled down. Yun Feng and others didn't have to go through so much trouble. They just needed to watch the game. The finals did not have the grand opening ceremony that they imagined. Everything was simple. A cardinal from the Spirit Hall came on stage and announced the start of the finals. He also announced the list of players to play and the list of players to be replaced. The game began under the command of the referee specially selected by the Spirit Hall. The two opponents in the first game were not very strong. Everyone from the Tandu Royal Academy could not help but whisper in their rest area. They were discussing tactics. On the contrary, Yun Feng looked relaxed. Miao Miao leaned on Yun Feng's arms, with Zhuzukin in his left hand and Zhao Wu in his right hand, looking very happy. Zhuzukin looked around and said to Yun Feng slowly, "Brother, why does this finals look less grand than the preliminaries? There is not even an opening ceremony, and there are very few spectators. Only a few thousand people at most." Yun Feng smiled and said, "Although there are only a few thousand people, don't forget that they are all soul masters, and most of them should belong to the Spirit Hall. There must be a reason why the Spirit Hall does not allow civilians to watch the game, but the final top 3 finals will be held in front of the Pope's Palace. Only then will the finals be really lively. The current dullness is probably a preparation for the grandeur at that time." The first game ended quickly. The second game was between Thunder Academy and Longkui Academy of Xingluo Empire. There was not much suspense. Thunder Academy won without any accidents. The third game was between Tandu Royal Academy and Blazing Academy. When everyone saw Blazing Academy on the court, their eyes widened a lot. In the Blazing Academy lineup, 4 people suddenly changed, and these 4 people were from Shinfen Academy. The dozen or so academies on the Xingluo Empire side were fine, but the Tandu Empire side was in an uproar. How could the players from the Shinfen Academy appear in the Chiyuo Academy? Isn't this just a hooligan? Meng Shenji frowned. Although he knew what was going on, he couldn't help it. "I'll go to the organizing committee to ask." After saying that, he immediately left in a hurry. The uproar below naturally did not affect the game on the field. Huo Wu sat in the back. Feng Zioxian and Huo Wushwang stood at the front of the team. When they all showed their soul rings, Yu Tan, Zhu Guyan, Yi Lengeling, and the Shi brothers and others were already cold in their hearts. There is no doubt that the 7 people who represented the Chiyuo Academy were all soul masters above level 40. When Meng Shenji came back, Yu Tan also looked at him and asked slowly, "What's going on?" Meng Shenji sighed and said, They took advantage of the loopholes in the rules. Participants cannot change their students midway, but this does not mean that the colleges that have registered and recorded cannot temporarily change their colleges. There is no explicit rule on this. Feng Xiaoshan and the other students are all on the list of participating in the finals. As long as the Spirit Hall agrees, it is not impossible for them to change their colleges. And the Spirit Hall has some opinions about Artandu Royal College, so they are naturally willing to see this scene, and the other party has not violated any rules. The answer given by the Spirit Hall is very simple. Within the scope allowed by the rules, the organizing committee will not interfere. With just a few words, Flanders was directly criticized. Although the two colleges merged into one, they gave up a place in the finals after all. In a sense, all college students are beneficiaries, except for the Tandu Royal College. However, many colleges on the Tandu Empire side raised the same protest, but they also felt the toughness of the Spirit Hall for the first time. The final reply from the Spirit Hall was only one sentence: if you don't want to participate, you can withdraw. And the organizing committee is absolutely fair, because they are also afraid that after the Blazing Academy wins the Tandu Royal Academy, they will be the next one to be drawn, and then they will be gone. The Tandu Empire officials did not come forward for this. After all, the Blazing Academy, after its expansion, still belongs to the Tandu Empire. If they can get good results, it will not be bad for the Tandu Empire, and they can integrate their combat power. In addition to the Blue Tyrant Academy, they will have a team that can be shown off. Now the relationship between the two empires and the Spirit Hall is at least harmonious on the surface. For this little thing, they will definitely not take the initiative to offend the Spirit Hall. The game started quickly. Yu Tan and the others had no choice but to go on the court first. After all, there is no resurrection match in this final. Even if they know that it is unfair to their side, what can they do? They can only suffer in silence. After all the people from the Tandu Royal Academy went on the court, the referee took a look at both sides and announced the start of the game. Chapter 340. Is power really that important? At the moment when the spirit was released, most of the thousands of spirit masters in the audience screamed. All the members of Blazing Fire Academy were spirit masters, while the Tandu Royal Academy was still in its original configuration. There was nothing to fight. They lost the game directly. The Tandu Empire's face was not good, because both teams belonged to them. 2 days later, the first 2 rounds of the game ended quickly, and the top 10 of the Continental High-Level Spirit Master Academy Elite Competition were announced. The third round of the game is about to begin. In this round, Danshui Academy and the second-placed academy in the Xingliuo Empire Promotion Competition have a bye. Lanba Academy also ushered in their first battle in the finals. If there were no surprises in the first 2 rounds, then after the draw results of the third round came out, the atmosphere of the finals suddenly became tense. Lanba Academy's opponent in the third round is the Xingliuo Royal High-Level Spirit Master Academy. That is, the one selected by the Xingliuo Empire among the 3 seeded teams. However, this is not the most eye-catching. What is more surprising is another game. The Wuhan Hall High-Level Spirit Master Academy against a High-Level Spirit Master Academy in the Xingliuo Empire. They finally saw the Spirit Hall team take action. After all, in the outside world, the players of the Spirit Hall Advanced Spirit Master Academy are extremely mysterious. Although they have never participated in the Spirit Master competition and have been recommended all the way, no one would think that the Spirit Hall Advanced Spirit Master Academy would be weak. There is no doubt that these 2 games are of utmost importance. Everyone is looking forward to it. There is still half an hour before the start of the game, and the top 10 of the competition have entered the venue to make the final preparations and warm-ups before the game. Ning Rong also found that Zhu Zuqing was uneasy at the moment, and her expression seemed a little wrong. Zuqing, what's wrong with you? Since Zhu Zuqing knew the result of the draw, her mood seemed very low. She didn't say a word during the whole process from her residence to the competition venue. It was completely different from her usual appearance. Yun Feng, Liu Rilong and others also knew why Zhu Zuqing was like this. Yun Feng had taken Liu Rilong to the Xingliuo Empire to talk about this matter before. Although Zhu Zuqing was very silent, Yun Feng could feel that she seemed to be accumulating something. It was a kind of anger that either erupted in silence or died in silence. Zhu Zuqing did not answer Ning Rongrong's words, but stood up and bowed to Yun Feng and others. Some people were confused and looked at Zhu Zuqing and asked what happened. Zuqing, is there an enemy of yours on the other side? The one who asked the question was Jiang Zhu, who was now playing very friendly with the girls. Zhu Zuqing shook her head and said slowly, no, this is a fight between families. Then Zhu Zuqing slowly told her about what happened before, how she was oppressed over there, how she escaped, how Uncle Fu died on the way to save her, and so on. After hearing this, Jiang Zhu's eyes were red and she said directly, Zuqing, your sister is in the Xingluo Royal Advanced Soul Master Academy team? Zhu Zuqing nodded silently. Originally, I thought I had no hope, but when I met Brother Feng, I suddenly realized that revenge was not without hope, and we had a good chance of winning. At this time, Meow Meow, who was standing aside and silently massaging Yun Feng, said with a lonely look in her eyes, is power really that important? Even if you can inherit the family, will you really be happy? Zhu Zuqing smiled bitterly. If it were really that simple, do you think I really value power that much? No, no, our two families have extremely special regulations. In order to make the future family heirs more outstanding, once the competing children are selected, these competing children will be trained as enemies. The winner can inherit the family, but the loser will be extremely miserable. In order to avoid civil strife in the family, the loser of the competition will be directly wiped out. So, what we are competing for is not only power, but also our lives. Zhu Zuqing paused here. Although Daima Bai is now useless and I have my brother's protection, the hatred of these years cannot be eliminated. Zhu Zuqing's emotions obviously became excited. Recalling the past, Zhu Zuqing said a lot. Yun Feng didn't want to say much about this matter. He could only hug the emotional Zhu Zuqing. He stroked Zhu Zuqing's back quietly and pressed Zhu Zuqing's head on his chest. In fact, Yun Feng had another guess about Zhu Zuqing being hunted down and suppressed. Is Zhu Xian really that cruel? You know, Zhu Xian is 5 years older than her, the same martial soul, the same soul power, and 5 more years of practice. If you really want to kill Zhu Zuqing, it's actually very easy. And why Zhu Zuqing was able to escape the family so easily? Yun Feng had different ideas in his heart, but at the moment, Yun Feng still didn't plan to say much. But the girls were indignant and said that they would definitely help Zhu Zuqing win. From the start of the competition to now, several people from Lanba Academy have never played at the same time. When Yun Feng appeared on the competition stage with the team maintaining a complete lineup, the eyes of the remaining Soul Master teams that qualified from the Tandu Empire couldn't help but freeze. Is Xingluo Empire violating the law of heaven? Even the captain of Lanba Academy is on the stage. On the other side of the competition stage, a group of 7 people also slowly walked onto the stage. When Zhu Zuqing saw the person walking in front of him, 2 dazzling lights flashed in his eyes. Yun Feng also noticed the person on the other side, with long golden hair scattered behind his back. His face showed a lazy look, and his eyes were purple, but they were not double pupils. His appearance was at least 70% similar to Daima Bai, but his figure was a little taller than Daima Bai. Although it was very casual, his smile still revealed a bit of the smile of a superior. Behind him, followed a tall girl, who was almost as tall as him, with an extremely plump figure and skin as white as mutton fat jade. She also smiled, but kept a certain distance from the former, which made the man in front a little dissatisfied. The girl was very beautiful, and she was even more similar to Zhu Zuqing than Daima Bai was to the former, but she lacked Zhu Zuqing's coldness. The whole person looked very gentle. In this kind of gentleness, beauty is easier to be recognized by others. The leading young man's eyes swept across Zhu Zuqing's face, and a trace of lust flashed in his eyes, and then he pretended to be indifferent and said, Xian, I didn't expect your sister to really make it to the finals. It's not easy to challenge us face to face. Zhu Xian glanced at Zhu Zuqing, and a trace of complexity and regret flashed in his eyes, but then his eyes became firm again, and he said with a smile, Sister, we haven't seen each other for a long time. Do you miss your sister? Zhu Zuqing's eyes were full of anger in the face of Zhu Xian's words. Sister, since you sent people to hunt me down, you are not And you also killed Uncle Fu. Chapter 341 Zhu Xianyun, face the reality, your Zhu family still wants. When Zhu Xianyun heard Zhu Zuking's words, her pupils were like an earthquake. Her tone was no longer gentle, but full of disbelief. Hunting? Uncle Fu is dead? Then she thought of something and suddenly turned to look at Davis. It's you? Davis's face was also a little ugly. Hearing Zhu Xianyun's questioning tone, he snorted coldly. Now it's a competition. I'll tell you after it's over. Zhu Zuqing looked at her sister's appearance and sneered. After so many years of suppression, how could she believe the other party just because of a few words from them? Stop pretending over there. Disgusting. Zhu Xianyun's body trembled even more. As the butler of the Zhu family, Uncle Fu almost took care of the Zhu sisters when they were young. After all, as a general of the empire, the head of the Zhu family did not have so much free time, and their mother had died long ago. So the two sisters had a very deep feeling for Uncle Fu, and Uncle Fu naturally did not want to see a life-and-death situation between the two sisters, so he took Zhu Zuqing away. Yun Feng frowned. As a bystander, he could see clearly that Zhu Xianyun's sad expression was not fake. He immediately thought and used the fifth soul skill. He wanted to see what was going on. Yun Feng's mental power invaded and he understood what was going on in just a few seconds. After watching it, he sighed. He looked at Zhu Zuqing and Zhu Xianyun with some pity. Okay, Zuqing, Uncle Fu was indeed not sent by your sister to kill you. And it was not your sister who chased you at the beginning. Zhu Zuqing naturally believed what Yun Feng said, but facing this anger, her eyes were full of confusion. Why? Question mark. Yun Feng sighed and said slowly, let's talk about it after the game, but it was indeed not your sister, and your sister helped many times in secret. After saying that, he was afraid that Zhu Zuqing would not believe it. So he took a serious look. Believe me. Zhu Zuqing was dumbfounded. What exactly did she hate all along? What was the direction of her efforts? I don't understand. I really don't understand. Seeing Zhu Zuqing was about to be beaten to death, Yun Feng used the soul control technique again. He directly controlled Davis, who was still furious. Isn't it just a few people who died? If those rubbish hadn't been so incompetent, would you have wanted to escape from the Xingyuo Empire? Zhu Zuqing, you are dreaming. Although the royal rules don't allow me to kill you, I can stop you from looking for Daimabai, that rubbish, but you still ran away later, which is more or less a pity. Davis, who was under Yun Feng's control, also told all the things he had done before. Zhu Zuqing's expression suddenly changed. A strong killing intent suddenly broke out in her confused eyes. Zhu Xianyun also looked at Davis with disbelief. You. Davis looked at Zhu Xianyun with dissatisfaction. What do you mean you? The winner is the king and the loser is the enemy. Born in the royal family, don't you understand this principle? As long as I can win, this trick is nothing. Besides, I didn't break the rules. Right? Davis was under Yun Feng's control, and he said whatever he thought of. He didn't care about the feelings of the people around him. Seeing Zhu Xianyun like that, he was immediately furious. Zhu Xianyun, you have to recognize your identity. You are the future queen of our Xingyuo Empire, and your Zhu family still has to depend on us. As soon as these words came out, the guilt in Zhu Xianyun's eyes became even stronger. But this guilt was also full of complexity. And he looked at Zhu Zuqing. Zuqing, I'm sorry. When Zhu Xianyun finished speaking, a line of tears slowly flowed down Zhu Zuqing's face. Yun Feng hugged Zhu Zuqing and whispered in her ear, it's okay, baby. Yun Feng's words seemed to have magic, and a glimmer of light flashed in Zhu Zuqing's eyes, and she seemed to think of something in her heart. Looking at Yun Feng with burning eyes, she whispered in his ear, brother, since you can protect me, do you mind protecting one more? Yun Feng still didn't understand what Zhu Zuqing meant. The referee over there seemed to be unable to wait any longer. He said directly, prepare for the game. You can release your martial spirits. The rules of the game are the same as before. The loser will be eliminated directly, and the winner will enter the top 6. Blue Tyrant Advanced Soul Master Academy Team vs. Star Luo Royal Advanced Soul Master Academy. Ready. As soon as these words came out, Yun Feng also suppressed his inner doubts and prepared to start the game, but Davis was dumbfounded. How could he say such irrational words? As a king, some words cannot be said. This is basic common sense. But why did they all come out at once today? Seeing that Zhu Xian was still crying, Davis pretended to be gentle again, and said slowly, "Let's talk about everything after the game, okay?" The tone was so gentle. But when Zhu Xian heard this, her body trembled a few times, hesitated for a long time, and nodded with a firm look. Okay, she has no choice. As long as the Zhu family is still in the Xingluo Empire, she will never be able to escape the rules and constraints. Hearing this, Davis' eyes suddenly became overbearing, and his whole body seemed to stretch out. His broad shoulders and the same evil face looked unusually handsome at this moment. "Brothers, release your martial spirits. Let's give them a surprise." The 7 members of Xingluo Academy released their soul power instantly. Davis and Zhu Xian stood in the front, and the soul power fluctuations on them were the largest. In a flash, 4 soul rings, 2 yellow and 2 purple, appeared on them. Davis and Zhu Xian's martial souls were the same as Zhuzuking and Daima Bai's, the white tiger and the nether spirit cat. Judging from the soul power fluctuations of these 2 people, Davis's soul power has at least exceeded level 47, and Zhu Xian is also above level 46. What's even more surprising is that among the 5 people behind Davis and Zhu Xian, 4 of them released their martial souls, which were above level 40. Together with the former 2, the number of soul masters in the entire Xingluo Academy team reached 6. However, these can no longer shock Lanba Academy. After all, Yun Feng is on the field in their team. After seeing Yun Feng and Gu Rong fight, they are full of confidence. How could they be afraid of these things? However, apart from the Spirit Hall Academy and the combined team of Divine Wind and Blazing Fire, which had already appeared the day before and shocked the audience, they were the team with the most soul masters above level 40. Moreover, Davis and Zhu Xian were so outstanding. In terms of overall strength, they would never be worse than the combined team of Divine Wind and Blazing Fire Academy. Xingluo Royal High-Level Soul Master Academy was different from Tandu Royal Academy. You could not enter there just by relying on status and money. Chapter 342, Cruel. Ruin Davis. It is the real talent and hard work that are indispensable. If you are not careful, you will be replaced by the latecomers. However, what surprised Davis and Zhu Xian was that the people of Blue Tyrant Academy brought everyone an extremely terrifying shocking effect. Standing in the front was Yun Feng, whose 5 soul rings were floating up and down. Compared with Tang San before, Yun Feng's soul rings were a little normal, but it was also within the abnormal range. Zhuzuking, Dawu, and Ning Rong behind also summoned their martial souls, the unified 3-ring soul sect. But their 3 rings are not ordinary 3 rings, especially Zhuzuking. After being trained by Yun Feng, the combat power is close to that of the Soul King. Even ordinary Soul Kings may not be able to beat Zhuzuking. There are several self-created soul skills. As for Huang Yuan and Jiang Zhu, they are just here to make soy sauce. Don't care at all. Davis looked at Zhuzuking in a somewhat inappropriate manner. No, this is impossible. When you left home, you were only in your 20s. It's only been 2 years. How could you be almost level 40? Davis and Zhu Xian had already noticed Zhuzuking when they came to the finals of Lanba Academy. But subconsciously, neither of them thought Zhuzuking would be that strong. And Daima Bai's appearance also made them puzzled. So their attention was focused on Daima Bai. After learning that they had a falling out, and the gossip from somewhere, knowing that Daima Bai had completely given up the fight for the throne and awakened some strange things, Davis was naturally in a good mood. But before the royal order came down, they had to keep fighting. But in Davis's mind, even if he came to power, he must kill Daima Bai. After all, there have been too many cases of usurpation of the throne in their Xingluo Empire, so this rule was left behind. But who would have thought that a second daughter who was not valued could reach the same height as them in just 2 years? Davis was jealous. After all, the age gap was there. With similar talents, how could she catch up with the 2 of them? Even when they learned that Lanba Academy was the champion of the promotion match of the Tandu Empire, they could not change their minds. As one of the 3-seeded teams, the only opponent in their eyes was the Wuhan Hall Academy team. But now, when Zhuzuking truly showed her strength above level 40, Davis and Zhu Xian were shocked, and Davis' eyes were full of murderous intent. The age difference was so big. But her strength had been quickly caught up by the opponent. If she was given some more time, it would be hard to say who would win in the future, even if it meant violating the rules of the competition. This time she must try her best to solve this threat in the competition. Yun Feng naturally noticed Davis's thoughts and just sneered coldly, "I will make you step down if you can't even use the Wuhan fusion skill." The game begins. With the referee's order, this eye-catching competition finally began. Yun Feng, who heard the start, immediately moved. The fifth soul ring on his body flashed directly. Yun Feng disappeared just as the referee's voice ended. When he appeared again, he had already arrived at the Xingluo royal team, holding the armored blue-silver emperor with a residual shadow. He whipped Davis's arm directly. A bright light flashed, and Davis's arm fell to the ground. While the others in the Douluo Empire were still in a daze, Yun Feng whipped again, breaking both of his hands. The terrifying extreme cold and scorching heat were all at the broken ends of Davis's arms, destroying his body crazily. Because the speed was too fast, no one could see clearly, and Davis was no exception. After seeing the whip shadow for a while, he finally reacted, and then there was a burst of severe pain. "Ah, since you dare to hurt me, boy, you will die miserably." Yun Feng listened to this and naturally would not indulge this bad habit. In the past, he didn't have the strength and backing, so it didn't matter if he pretended to be a grandson. Now he has the strength and backing. "Do you still dare to jump here?" Hands up and down. 3 legs were broken. The whole fighting spirit stage was filled with a solemn and bloody atmosphere. "Why are you pretending?" After saying that, he kicked Davis off the fighting spirit stage. Only one soul skill was used in the whole process, Kaiwa, and came in front of Davis. When these people from Xingluo Royal Academy saw Yun Feng being so ruthless, they were all scared. No one dared to move. Zhu Xianyun looked at Yun Feng like this, thought of the responsibility of his family, and still forced himself to shout to his teammates with fear, "We have experienced so much hardship and training along the way. Don't you want to fight when you know you can't win? Everyone, come with me." To be honest, Zhu Xianyun's words did not play much role, but it aroused the unwillingness in their hearts. Most of them are children from ordinary families. They can only represent the empire to fight because of their efforts and talents. If they are afraid before fighting, let alone what the Xingluo Empire will do to them, even after returning home, how will those families who have high hopes for them look at them? Especially this is a contest between countries. Thinking of this, everyone raised their heads in unison and looked at Yun Feng, with a fierce temperament in their eyes. Like a vicious wolf, it seemed to tear the enemy in front of it to pieces. Yun Feng smiled. He didn't have any opinions about these people. Instead, he looked at Zhu Xianyun and Zhu Zuqing behind him with interest. His heart moved slightly. When everyone rushed up, he said to Zhao Wu and others behind him, "Don't go up. Just watch me solve it." After speaking, Yun Feng stepped on the steps and operated the first soul skill. Many huge towering blue-silver emperors appeared around him in an instant. Under the gaze of everyone, Yun Feng threw the 5 people from Xingluo Royal Academy off the stage as if he was strolling in the garden. He came to Zhu Xianyun and said slowly, "Zhu Zuqing's sister, Zhu Xianyun." Zhu Xianyun suppressed the fear in her heart and looked at Yun Feng as if she was looking at a fierce beast. The whole person couldn't stop shaking. After all, his fighting style was too bloody. There were broken limbs and arms at any time. Didn't you see that the leader of Xingluo Royal Academy in the audience went berserk immediately after seeing Davis's injuries? He wanted to rush onto the stage to kill Yun Feng. However, he was held down by the elders of the Spirit Hall. Zhu Xianyun took a deep breath, looked at Yun Feng and said slowly, "What do you want from me, sir? Why don't you send me off the stage as well?" Yun Feng smiled and said to Zhu Xianyun, "You Xingluo Royal Academy are definitely going to lose now, but I am still willing to give you a chance. Remember, it's for you." Zhu Xianyun frowned. No one on the fighting spirit stage or in the audience could guess what Yun Feng wanted to do. Only Zhu Zuqing seemed to have thought of something. Her beautiful eyes turned and were suddenly filled with mist. "What chance?" Yun Feng turned around and pointed at Zhu Zuqing behind him, then said to Zhu Xianyun, "Next, I and the other 5 people from our Blue Tyrant Academy will not interfere. Just get off the stage. Chapter 343 Sisters Fighting. You just need to compete with Zhuzuking, which will satisfy my girlfriend's wish for so long, and also be a testimony to her efforts for so long. Zhu Xiaoyun was silent, and the inexplicable color in her eyes became more serious. Finally, her eyes changed several times, and she replied dimly and weakly, "Okay, it's a deal." After getting this answer, Yun Feng turned and walked towards Zhuzuking, bent down and kissed Zhuzuking's forehead gently. "I'll wait for you to return victorious, and then I will tell you everything I know." After saying that, in Zhuzuking's tearful eyes, he took Ao Wu and others off the stage without any regrets. Everyone in the audience was shocked when they saw this scene. "So you are here to pick up girls in such an important occasion!" Bastard. But it's none of their business, so they can't say anything. Only the students and instructors of the Xinghuo Empire looked at Yunfeng and Lanba Academy with murderous eyes, but they didn't look at them for a few more times. A sharp sword force suddenly burst out from the VIP seats. The powerful soul power crushed over. Feeling the impact of the soul power, the instructors of the Xinghuo Empire lost their temper in an instant, buried their heads, and wished they could leave quickly. Yun Feng smiled and ignored these clowns. After nodding to express his gratitude, he set his sights on Zhuzuking on the fighting stage. Zhuzuking wiped the tears from her eyes casually with her sleeves, and looked at Zhu Xiaoyun opposite with a firm gaze. There was an indescribable complexity in her eyes. Zhu Xiaoyun had the same look. The entanglement between the two sisters was too deep. Perhaps now a hearty battle is the best way to untie the knot between them. After the two looked at each other, Zhu Xiaoyun's body disappeared almost instantly. With a flash, the whole body left only a faint afterimage in the air. The body drew a huge arc, went around from the side, and rushed straight to Zhuzuking. Zhuzuking did the same, and a contest between the nether spirit cats began. Zhu Xiaoyun's illusory figure stopped in the air, because an equally swift figure quietly blocked her in front of her. Behind both of them, there was a ray of light. It was a black afterimage. Zhuzuking and Zhu Xiaoyun left a series of sparks in the air in a violent collision. In terms of strength, Zhuzuking is still much inferior to Zhu Xiaoyun. After all, the gap between their soul power is more than 2 or 3 levels. But don't forget that Zhuzuking is the representative word of hard work. After all, under Yun Feng's special training, she is also very proficient in the ability to find opportunities and assassination. Now both of them need a vent. The bodies of the two sisters kept colliding in the air like meteors, and countless sparks bursting out due to the contact of sharp claws flashed in the air. Countless phantoms and afterimages appeared on the field. It was obviously a battle between two people, but it was played like a team battle, which was really eye-opening. The two women looked at each other, and after a brief fight in the air, Zhu Xiaoyun suddenly spoke. "Zuking, how did Uncle Fu die?" Zhu Xiaoyun's voice was not loud, with a slight tremor. Zhuzuking heard this, sneered, waved the claws on his hand, and waved at Zhu Xiaoyun again. "How did he die? You already have the answer in your heart. Why ask me again?" Zhu Xiaoyun was dazed when he heard this. Yes, didn't he already have the answer? The reason why he asked this question was that he didn't want to admit his fault. People are creatures who deceive themselves. It is normal to ask this question. Zhu Xiaoyun's lips moved a few times, and finally turned into a sigh. "Zuking, I'm sorry, Zhu Xiaoyun even cried a little when she said this. Obviously, she was also very uncomfortable with this kind of thing. After all, that was the old man who took care of her throughout her childhood. Zhuzuking didn't want to listen to these meaningless apologies too much. She just wanted to have a good fight now. She didn't care much about other things. "Stop talking about this, come on." Seeing the fighting spirit in Zhuzuking's eyes, Zhu Xiaoyun smiled. Her sister is really different. In this case, let's fight. The fight between the two sisters became more and more intense. If everyone present was not a soul master, they might not even see the shadow of the two sisters Zhuzuking and Zhu Xiaoyun. Blood was flowing, and scars were left on the bodies of the two. They were caused by sharp claws. The battle has reached a white-hot stage. Now it seems that the gap between the two of them has been resolved by this battle. After all, Zhuzuking is not a fool, and can naturally feel Zhu Xiaoyun's emotions. That kind of helplessness and sadness can't be pretended. "Zhu Xiaoyun, Let's turn the hatred between us into the last blow and end it. I don't want to go on. I have found my own happiness. I don't want to think about the rules of the royal family and the prospects of the family. Let's just leave it at that. You should know what Daimai looks like now. He is useless and can't be the heir, so let's leave it at that. Zhu Xian wiped the mist from her eyes, forced a smile, and said slowly, okay, this okay contains too many things. Helpless. My sister has finally made it and found happiness. As a sister, I should smile. Why does it become like this? Zhu Zuqing stopped talking after saying that. The soul power is constantly gathering, and Xuan Gong is running to its peak at this moment. This blow contains all the oppression and grievances she has suffered since she awakened at the age of 6. It has been 8 years now. Zhu Zuqing bloomed with its own brilliance at this moment. Self-created soul skill. Nether slash. The soul power turned into a purple light that shot up into the sky, and in a flash it condensed into a huge blade, emitting a cold breath all over its body. Zhu Xian on the other side, watching this scene, also showed a smile on his pale face. The fourth soul skill is blooming, however, unlike Zhu Zuqing, Zhu Xian's soul skill is to continuously extend his claws. The dark purple claws also emit a faint cold light. After the two signs looked at each other, they moved their feet, both took long legs, and rushed directly to each other. In the eyes of everyone, the two purple lights collided with each other. Boom! The airflow surged, dust flew everywhere, covering the audience's eyes. Yun Feng watched this scene from the audience. His eyes shrank slightly, and a slight arc appeared at the corner of his mouth. It's really pitiful. Dao Wu was a little surprised when she heard Yun Feng's words. Brother, who is pitiful? Yun Feng smiled faintly and nodded at Dao Wu, Zuqing's sister. After a while, the gray fog dissipated, and Zhu Zuqing stood on the field, and her sharp claws had directly pierced into Zhu Xian's lower abdomen, completely penetrated. Chapter 344 Sister. Zhu Zuqing looked at Zhu Xian in shock and confusion, her lips trembling uncontrollably. Looking at Zhu Xian's beautiful face mixed with bright red blood, Zhu Zuqing was confused. Why are you releasing your strength? Hearing Zhu Zuqing's words, Zhu Xian stretched out his hands tremblingly, but could not touch Zhu Zuqing's face. Seeing this, Zhu Zuqing had already given up his previous thoughts. He quickly knelt down, placed Zhu Xian on his thighs, grabbed Zhu Xian's hands and leaned against his face. Tears in his eyes kept flowing, and the bean-sized crystals kept flowing down his face and onto Zhu Xian's face. Feeling the warm tears of Zhu Zuqing dripping on him, Zhu Xian smiled, and smiled with relief. Zuqing is still as tearful as when he was a child. I remember that after my mother passed away, whenever you were wronged, you liked to hide in your sister's arms and cry. The picture in Zhu Zuqing's mind instantly returned to his childhood, back to that warm embrace. She immediately lost her voice and couldn't stop shaking. Why did you do that? Zhu Xian looked at Davis, who was still being rescued, and showed a bitter smile. Davis is already useless. Sister doesn't mean to blame you. It's just that after so long, I'm also tired. What use is the royal world to us women? When we awakened the spirit of the Nether Spirit Cat, our fate was completely fixed. Now that I think about it, it's really sad. I don't want to care about what happens after I die. Zuqing, are you willing to forgive me? Over the years, I have done a lot of things to hurt you. Zhu Zuqing had already burst into tears. I am willing to forgive you, sister. Don't say anything. Let's go down and treat it. After saying that, she wanted to hug Zhu Xian's body and walk off the stage. She knew that as long as Yi Lingling was willing to treat, even if her sister had a breath left, she could pull it back. What's more, her sister hasn't reached that point yet. She was just pierced in the abdomen by the claws. But when Zhu Zuqing picked up Zhu Xian herself stopped Zhu Zuqing's action. With a pale face, she said, "No, I'm tired. I don't want to go back to the royal family without any family affection. Uncle Fu is dead, my mother is dead, and my father has changed. What's the point of going back? I have done too many wrong things in my life." Zuqing, can you accompany your sister? Zhu Zuqing shook her head frantically, disagreeing with her sister's statement. "I don't." Zhu Xian looked at her sister with pity and smiled happily. "Zukin is still as stubborn as when she was a child." Zhu Xian couldn't even finish her words when she said this. Her words became extremely weak. After all, Zhu Zuking's attack directly broke Zhu Xian's entire stomach, leaving only a little flesh hanging. A big hole suddenly appeared. If Zhu Xian was not the sole master of the beast martial spirit, he might have died by now. "Sister, I will save you, I will pull you out of the mud, don't worry." Zhu Xian seemed to want to persuade her sister, but her injuries were extremely terrible. Before she could say anything, she lost too much blood and fainted completely. The referee also directly announced at this time that Lanba Academy won. Seeing that her sister was unconscious, Zhu Zuqing hurriedly carried Zhu Xian to Yi Lingling. When Zhu Guyan saw this, she directly said to Yi Lingling, "Lingling, save her." Yi Lingling also nodded directly. In fact, Zhu Guyan didn't need to say these. She would save her. After placing Zhu Xian on the ground, a green light appeared in both hands, and it continued to flow towards Zhu Xian. The soul power instantly turned into a pure life energy, filling Zhu Xian's whole body. Yi Lingling's healing ability was rapidly repairing Zhu Xian's injured wounds. After a while, the terrifying big hole was completely restored. Seeing this scene, the Star Empire personnel on the other side also shamelessly wanted to come over and ask Yi Lingling to treat their princes and team members. But Yi Lingling had consumed too much soul power at this time and said that she could not help. The Star Luo Empire had no choice but to use its second-tier healing soul masters to treat Davis and others with all their strength. Zhu Zuqing was slightly relieved when she saw that her sister's injuries had recovered. However, seeing that Zhu Xian still didn't wake up, she turned her head and looked at Yi Lingling. Yi Lingling's gentle voice also sounded, "Your sister's injuries are too serious, and her spirit has suffered too much. She is asleep now. It's okay, don't worry." Yun Feng also hugged Zhu Zuqing's slender waist at the right time and said slowly, "Zuqing, don't worry, I'm here. No one can take away your love." Yun Feng's words also completely broke Zhu Zuqing's defense. She leaned over Yun Feng's arms and cried loudly. All the grievances of so many years poured out in one day. She didn't know what she felt when her palm pierced her sister. It was so uncomfortable to feel that the whole world was gray. The victory that she had been looking forward to for many years came so quickly, and even she didn't know whether she should be happy or sad at this moment. No matter what, she was her biological sister after all. But then Zhu Xian's words, "Alas, every family has its own problems." The game ended in silence. The game was over, and Zhu Xian was cured. The leader of the opposing team was also under great pressure when he came to Lanba Academy to ask for someone. But how could Zhu Zuqing, who had already promised her sister, hand over her sister like this? So under the unknown pressure, the people of Xingluo Empire went back again in disgrace. Many people in the audience laughed out loud. Of course, most of them were from the Tandu Empire. On the way back, Yun Feng and the others also encountered a group of people who suddenly stopped when they passed by. Yun Feng felt that he was being watched and looked up. That was the team of the Spirit Hall. There was no intersection between the two sides. But Yun Feng knew that the people of the Spirit Hall would participate in the next battle. Of course, he wanted to stay and watch the little fox. But thinking that Zhu Zuqing had experienced so many things today, it was the moment when she needed comfort, so naturally he would not leave her alone. Just when Yun Feng was going back, the team of the Spirit Hall also stood on the fighting stage. In the Spirit Hall Academy team, 3 new faces also appeared. These 3 people walked slowly at the front of the Spirit Hall Academy team. Although they looked very ordinary and calm, they gave people the feeling that they were like 3 wolves ready to go. The momentum and confidence surging from the 3 people were unprecedented in everyone's life. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 345 Sky Fox. Only those who have experienced countless victories and defeated countless opponents can have such a psychological advantage. The uniforms of the Wuhan Hall Academy team are white, pure white, and embroidered with 6 patterns that symbolize the Wuhan Hall. The 3 people walking in front each wore a purple book-shaped badge on their left chest. That is their symbol of honor. The one walking in front is a man, about 1.9 meters tall, with a neat black short hair standing up like a steel needle. His face is very calm, and the invisible belief seems to be completely bursting out of his body. His slender and powerful hands hang on both sides of his body, and his faint eyes stare at the opponent opposite. Under the gaze of the man, the opponent is also a little scared. I don't know why. Looking at the calm eyes of the man in front of me, I always feel like a blade is scraping my body. On both sides of the black short-haired man, there is a man and a woman. The man has long fiery red hair, which is scattered behind his back. Even his eyeballs are dark red. She has an ordinary appearance, but like the short-haired young man before, she exudes an invisible temperament. The only woman among the 3 has long black hair and looks a bit like the man in front. The expressions of the 3 people are as if they were carved from the same mold. This girl doesn't look very beautiful at first glance, but if you look closely, you can feel a strange charm from her. Ning Fengzi looked at Zhu King, who was sitting next to him, and he was also showing off. King, do you know who the 3 people who were replaced by the spirit hall are? Little did Zhu King know that when she heard Ning Fengzi say this, the corners of her mouth twitched unconsciously. Who are they? Needless to say, even if she hasn't been back for so long, she knows who the 3 people opposite are. But in the face of Ning Fengzi's question, Zhu King still pretended not to understand. Teacher, who are they? These 3 people are the 3 geniuses praised by the Spirit Hall as the Golden Generation. The black-haired young man in the front is called Ziyu, a level 52 strong attack type Battle Soul King. His martial soul is Moonblade, and he is a weapon soul master. The red-haired man behind him is called Yen, a level 52 fire attribute strong attack type Battle Soul King, and his martial soul is Flame Lord. The girl on the other side of Ziyu is his sister, named Huliena, a level 51 control type Battle Soul King, and his martial soul is Fox. Ziyu and Huliena took their parents' surnames and inherited their parents' martial souls respectively. Among the 3, in addition to paying attention to the 2 strong attack type Battle Soul Kings, you should also pay special attention to Huliena. Huliena has an extremely powerful charm ability, and her soul skills are all based on charm. Listening to Ning Fengzi's words, Zhu King was more or less speechless. As the young master of the Spirit Hall, how could she not know about this matter? And there is also a girl who took away her love. However, Zhu King still pretended to be shocked and said, 3 Soul Kings? Ning Fengzi nodded with a serious expression. Yes, 3 Soul Kings. The tone revealed in Ning Fengzi's words. Complex, still complex. Sometimes he even wondered whether it was the right thing to go against the Spirit Hall. But when he thought of the ambition of the Spirit Hall, in order to protect the foundation of his own sect, he had no choice but to do so. Now he was pinning his hopes on his daughter and Yun Feng. After all, they were the ones who broke the situation. He saw the seeds of hope in Yun Feng. So when Yun Feng said those words, he would seriously consider it. And now he stood completely together. With the referee's announcement, the game began. Although the academy on the opposite side of the Xingyuo Empire mustered up the courage to face the 3 Soul Kings of the Spirit Academy, the effect was very general. The 3 people from ZU standing in the front, each of them flashed 5 soul rings, 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 1 black. And it was the best soul ring matching. The strong pressure from the 3 people gathered together made the captain of the academy on the Xingyuo Empire side lose some courage. The first person to move in the Spirit Hall Academy team was not the captain Ziyu in the front, but his sister Huliena. Huliena moved lightly with lotus steps, and it seemed that she had just turned around and came to the front. A faint smile emerged from her face. With the release of her spirit, she seemed to become beautiful, and a big furry tail grew from her back. A light red light emerged from her body, and her eyes flashed. Looking at Yutan, the opponent who was about to use his spirit skills suddenly paused again. But their captain had more combat experience and hurriedly shouted, "Don't look into her eyes. Is it okay if you don't look into her eyes? Others call me the Sky Fox." Huliena's voice sounded a little hoarse, but in that hoarse voice, but it was accompanied by a special charm. From the look she gave when she walked out to this sentence, no one in the entire Xinghuo Empire Academy team took action. A strange scene appeared. The 5 soul rings on Huliena's body flickered very regularly. First, the black 5th soul ring, then the 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and finally the yellow 1st soul ring. When each soul ring fluctuated, the red light on her body would become stronger, and Ziyu behind her also moved. Ziyu had not one but 2 moon blades. Both were blood red. Like a crescent-shaped curved blade, his hands were respectively held in the center of the moon blade. At this time, it danced with the movement of the body. In just a moment, he directly killed the opposite side, and cooperated with the red-haired Yen to directly sweep out the 7 people on the opposite side. There was no dragging, and the other 4 members of the Spirit Hall did not think that this was inappropriate. They trusted the 3 people very much. After the 3rd round of the competition, there were only 6 teams left in the entire competition. The 3-seeded teams were only Blue Tyrant Academy and Spirit Academy. There is no doubt that among all the remaining 6 teams, the Spirit Hall Academy team is second to none. Following closely behind were the Blue Tyrant Academy team, the Tanshui Academy team, and the Tandu Royal team. Although the other 2 teams also made it into the top 6, they were more of a foil. Of course, this was the evaluation from the outside world. They didn't believe anything the people from the Tandu Empire who were watching the game said. Whose genius could beat Soul Buo at the Soul King level and kill him, and he could fight with titled Buo. Isn't this fooling children? In this regard, their perception of the Tandu Empire has become much worse. After all, this is too much. And these insiders were also very angry, because no matter how they explained, the other side just didn't believe it and insisted that they were liars. It made them anxious to death. But compared to such a small matter, tomorrow's draw will determine a lot of things. No one wants to meet the Wuhan Hall Academy team first, which represents a wall of obstacles. Chapter 346. You can do whatever you want with this scumbag. The elite competition of the All-Continental High-Level Soul Master Academy has come to an end, and it has also reached a fever pitch. Those who can stay are undoubtedly the strongest among the young Soul Masters, especially the golden generation of the Spirit Hall, which makes people see the true potential of Soul Masters. Of course, the people of Lanba Academy are not worried about this matter at all. At this time, Yun Feng was holding Zhu Zuqing and sitting on Zhu Xiaoyun's bed. The girls also left tactfully. After all, they can still see the current situation clearly. Zuqing, are you okay? Why are you frowning all the time? Zhu Zuqing heard Yun Feng's words and raised her head directly, with seriousness in her beautiful eyes. Brother, can you help me? Yun Feng laughed dumbly and touched Zhu Zuqing's head. What are you talking about? If you have something to do, will I not help you? Seeing that Yun Feng said so, Zhu Zuqing couldn't speak for a while, looking extremely ashamed. That looking at Zhu Zuqing, who was different from before, the straightforward, strong and decisive woman actually became hesitant at this moment. Yun Feng also grabbed Zhu Zuqing's shoulders seriously. Zuqing, do you remember what I said? I'll take care of everything, so you don't need to be like this at all. Just tell me if you have anything to say. After Zhu Zuqing took a look at Zhu Xiaoyun lying on the bed, the thought in her mind turned, and she said to Yun Feng, Brother, can you tell me about my sister? Yun Feng pondered for a moment and knew what Zhu Zuqing meant. It was nothing more than wanting to know what he thought of Zhu Xiaoyun. Thinking of this, Yun Feng did not hide anything. He told all the memories he saw from Zhu Xiaoyun. Zhu Zuqing listened attentively, and Yun Feng also substituted what he said. She didn't notice that Zhu Xiaoyun on the bed had opened her eyes and was listening to the conversation between Yun Feng and Zhu Zuqing. Yun Feng's tone was very calm, but the emotions in it were not less. After Zhu Zuqing learned that the reason why her sister did this was to protect her, she burst into tears. Hiding in Yun Feng's arms, she burst into tears. Suddenly, Zhu Zuqing raised her head, looked at Yun Feng with tears in her eyes, and said slowly, Brother, you will agree to me, right? Yun Feng looked at Zhu Zuqing in surprise. She seemed so weak at the moment. Although Zhu Zuqing spoke incoherently, Yun Feng still nodded solemnly. Yes. Seeing that Yun Feng agreed, Zhu Zuqing immediately said, Take my sister in too. She will definitely not be happy after she goes back now. And my sister is not married yet. I checked and it's still. Zhu Xiaoyun, who was lying on the bed, could no longer pretend. Seeing that her sister actually told everything to the outside world, she sat up immediately. "Ah, don't say such things." When Zhu Zuqing saw that her sister woke up, she left Yun Feng's arms directly and hugged Zhu Zuqing. Yun Feng looked at the 4 surging collisions, touched his nose, and said slowly, "Since your sister Zuqing has woken up, you can talk to her." Zhu Zuqing nodded, and Zhu Xiaoyun stopped Yun Feng, lowered her head slightly to Yun Feng, and said seriously, "Thank you for saving me." Yun Feng waved his hand, indicating that it was okay, and turned around and left. After a long separation, there should be a lot of words between them, and it is not suitable for him to stay here. After Yun Feng left, 2 cries came from the room first, and after a while, there was a sound of joy. Yun Feng, who was staying outside, smiled and lay quietly on the hammock, enjoying the feeding of Miao Miao and Zhu Guyan. The girls didn't leave, but they didn't deliberately listen to the conversation in the room. It was only after hearing Zhu Zuqing's laughter that they relaxed a lot. But Zhao Wu still said something to Yun Feng. "Brother, what are you going to do with Zhu Xiaoyun?" Yun Feng pondered for a while and shook his head. "It depends on what Zuqing thinks. I don't care. If Zuqing wants to protect her sister, we can do it with our current strength, so we don't have to worry about these things at all." Ning Rong on the side jumped out and said to Yun Feng with a smile, "Brother, aren't you afraid that they will be jealous?" Yun Feng glared at Ning Rong after hearing this, but Ning Rong was not afraid at all, and instead stuck out her tongue at Yun Feng. But Yun Feng did not expect this. He turned his head and looked in the direction of the other women. Seeing Yun Feng's eyes looking over, Miao Miao spoke first, as gentle and soft as always. "Master, don't worry about me. Another sister is here. I'm very happy." Miao Miao's words were gentle and silent, but they penetrated directly into Yun Feng's heart. With Miao Miao like this, what else can I ask for? Zhao Wu glanced at Miao Miao and glared at Yun Feng fiercely, but there was no less friendship between them. During this period of time, Yun Feng completely conquered the women. "Scumbag, whatever you want." Yun Feng smiled when he heard Zhao Wu's words, and said to Zhao Wu, "Just wait, I'll be the first to scum you tonight." After saying this, Zhao Wu stopped talking, but turned around with a slightly red face. Everyone could guess that Zhao Wu was shy. However, when this topic came up, everyone began to have different opinions. Yun Feng responded tiredly. He finally understood why the emperors in ancient times did not live long. Some got up early and went to bed late, and some worked hard to farm and control floods and man-made disasters. No one could stand it. While everyone was talking and laughing, the door slowly opened. Zhu Zuqing walked out slowly holding Zhu Xiaoyun's hand, but the eyes of the two were red. You can see how excited they are. Before Yun Feng and others could speak, Zhu Xiaoyun on the side took the initiative to bow and thank everyone. "Thank you all for taking care of Zuqing for so long, and thank you for saving my life this time." "Thank you." Yu Erlong was the first to stand up and say, "You are Zuqing's sister, so you are also our sister. Why are you saying thank you? We will be a family from now on." Hearing Yu Erlong's words, the girls all agreed. Only Zhu Xiaoyun looked at Yun Feng with a blush on her face. Yun Feng's appearance is no joke. He is the kind that people will stare at wherever he goes. They were in different camps before, but as Zhu Zuqing untied her knot, she took a formal look at Yun Feng this time. Suddenly she found that Yun Feng was so handsome. It was simply amazing. Zhu Xiaoyun blushed and said to Yun Feng, "I will trouble you, Mr. Yun, in the future." Yun Feng waved his hand and said indifferently, "What are you talking about? Since Zuqing said so, you can follow us in the future. Don't worry about the Xingliuo Empire." Zhu Xiaoyun nodded slightly, thinking of what her sister said. She was shy again. Zhu Zuqing saw that her sister was still not relaxed, so she pulled Zhu Xiaoyun aside and introduced her sisters to her one by one. Chapter 347 Zhu Xiaoyun surrenders. The girls didn't have any big opinions about Zhu Xiaoyun, since the real owner Zhu Zuqing had forgiven her and resolved the conflict. They weren't devils, but there was a little bit of inexplicable pity in their eyes. After all, if she fell into Yun Feng's hands, she would suffer sooner or later, and this matter was inevitable. This was already the consensus of the girls. However, compared to the good atmosphere here, The faces of the people in Douluo Royal Academy on the other side were not good. Davis's hands and feet were reattached after rescue, but his 5 limbs were extremely delicate and could not be treated by ordinary things. This also meant that if Davis could not recover, he would have no chance of becoming the emperor. The atmosphere was extremely heavy, especially for the teacher who led the team. With a sad face, Davis woke up after a while. When he regained consciousness, he felt severe pain instantly. The healing soul master could only help him connect, but it did not mean that the injury was healed immediately. After all, everything Feng did was not a joke, it was a real negative buff. These healing spirit masters are awesome for being able to clear all of this. Davis also wailed when he felt the pain. Damn it, come here, I'm going to kill him. Outside the house, several people from Douluo Royal Academy looked at each other and shook their heads. They knew that now was not the time to go in. As for killing Feng, forget it. That's not a joke. There are still many strong people behind him. After all, they have practiced it before. As long as there is an idea, a pressure will come in an instant. Moreover, they also found out clearly during the time when Davis was unconscious that there was another person named Ning Rong with Feng, who was the only daughter of the leader of the 7 Treasures Glazed sect, and there were 2 titled Buo over there. What are you fighting for? Are you going to fill this hole with your life? It's not worth it. So when they heard Davis roar, they pretended not to hear it, and waited until he calmed down. But it wasn't just these few people who came here. Some royal relatives also found Daima. Daima looked at these familiar elders and fell silent for a while. Flanders and others knew Daima's identity, and they realized something when they saw someone coming to find him. Flanders dodged and ran away. After all, Daima was a prince before, and a prince had such a thing happen in his academy. In order to avoid some unnecessary trouble, he chose to run away directly. Meng Shenji wanted to say something, but was stopped by Daima. In Oscar's stunned eyes, Daima smiled at him. Don't worry, Xiao, these are my uncles, I will be back soon. In fact, Daima was not wrong. The leader was Daima's uncle, the brother defeated by his father, and his cultivation had been abolished. But he had no complaints. After all, after he got the throne, he would treat his brothers in the same way according to the ancestral precepts. This is one of the ways that the Douluo Empire has been prosperous. But what Dai Tan Yang couldn't figure out was why his little nephew became a little niece. He couldn't believe it when he first came. Daima had written a letter to his family before, which was sent to the Douluo Empire. However, it did not introduce his current situation, but cancelled Zhuzukin's engagement and voluntarily withdrew from the battle for the throne. However, Daima had no say in this matter. How could he withdraw from the battle for the throne just because he wanted to? So the Douluo Empire treated it as a joke. But this time, they found that Daima actually gave up everything in order to save his life and not fight for the throne. What else can they say? The prince became a princess, and looking at Daima's current dress, she is 3 points more beautiful than ordinary women. Obviously, she has accepted her current identity. Dai Tanmin and Daima looked at each other and finally sighed. It's unfortunate for the family. Now your brother Davis is also useless. What do you say about this? The Douluo royal family has no successor. Although he said so, people who are familiar with him can feel the joy in Dai Tan Yang's words. The emperor's 2 sons are useless, so as a member of the royal bloodline, does his son have a chance to take the throne? Of course. It is just an idea now. This kind of thing needs to be put into practice. If it succeeds, it will solve the regrets of my youth. I can't be the emperor, but my son can be. It's also a good choice, isn't it? Daima naturally watched the game just now, but he didn't care much. With the passing of the Root of Troubles, he had no idea about the throne, so it didn't matter what Davis looked like now. She just wanted to be with Oscar and others. But Daima was not stupid, and naturally could detect that something was wrong with Dai Tan Yang's Sai, because in the past, the princes who failed in the competition would be killed or their soul power would be abolished and then sent to a marginal area for retirement. How could they be like Dai Tan Yang, who could still walk around everywhere? This means that her father is old and has begun to think about family affection. He is no longer suitable to be the emperor, otherwise, he would not be released. But Daimabai doesn't want to care about these. At most, he will write a letter to remind him, and the rest is none of his business. The rest area of Lanba Academy. Zhu Xiaoyun also answered some of Liu Rilong's questions seriously, for example, how to view the Tandu Empire and the Xingyuo Empire. Zhu Xiaoyun's eyes dimmed a little, but he still said, if it weren't for the Spirit Hall interfering, perhaps this world would have been ours long ago. In terms of national strength and military strength, our Xingyuo Empire is far superior to the Tandu Empire. Although there are several kingdoms in our country, the imperial power is not as dispersed as in the Tandu Empire. These are derived from the special way of competition of the royal family. Although this method is cruel, every generation of emperors who grow up in this way are all outstanding. It is not comparable to the Tandu Empire. The only advantage of the Tandu Empire is the location of the top 3 sects and its territory. Among the top 3 sects, although the Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex family and Urhashan sect never participate in political struggles, the 7 Treasures Glazed sect has always supported the Tandu Empire. There is also the Spirit Hall standing between the two empires. Otherwise, the war might have happened long ago. It was not until recent years that the Tandu Empire developed faster, and some problems arose within our Xingyuo Empire. The power comparison between the two empires began to develop towards a balance again. The reason why Liu Rilong asked this question was because of Yun Feng. After all, Yun Feng wants to serve the country, and the governance of a country is not that simple. So he asked Zhu Xiaoyun. Zhu Xiaoyun's perspective on the problem is also very thorough. After all, the women who can survive between the Zhu family and the royal family are not as simple as they seem. Chapter 348, Ruining Yun Feng's Reputation. Moreover, the Zhu family and the royal family share prosperity and prosperity, so Zhu Xiaoyun has to take over this aspect. After all, the entire Xingyuo Empire believes that Davis is the next king, so there is no problem in handing over some political affairs to Davis. As the future queen, Zhu Xiaoyun can naturally be approached. Liu Rilong listened to Zhu Xiaoyun's words and looked at Yun Feng. What are your plans for the Wuhan Hall? Yun Feng waved his hand, thought about it, and decided to tell the girls some things. After all, it's not good for some people to know and some people not to know. He immediately said, you don't need to worry about the Spirit Hall. The Spirit Hall will support me when the time comes. Is this what the Spirit Hall wants to see the most? Yun Feng smiled and said confidently, of course not. Don't you see who I am? Zhu Xiaoyun was a little puzzled. After knowing Yun Feng's secret, it meant that they were completely bound together, but he still said with some doubts, for an existence like the Spirit Hall, is it the most beneficial for them to maintain a balance between the two empires? Why do you do these things that threaten stability? Yun Feng smiled and said nothing. After all, it's better not to say that Qian Renxu is here now. The impact is not good. Seeing Yun Feng pretending to be mysterious, Zhu Xiaoyun also knew better and stopped asking. Now he is already living under someone else's roof. It would be wrong if he doesn't know what's good for him. Zhu Zuqing looked at Yun Feng and said seriously, brother, how about we go to the Xingyuo Empire after the game is over? Yun Feng thought about it carefully and nodded in agreement. Okay. Looking at Yun Feng's sincere eyes, Zhu Zuqing smiled and took Zhu Xiaoyun's hand, obviously very happy. This time she must go to solve the remaining problems, and she is eager to get an answer. Even if it is a bad answer, it doesn't matter. After all, she has already determined Yun Feng, and no one else can do it. Zhu Xiaoyun looked at Yun Feng gratefully, and after looking around, she sighed in her heart. Yun Feng is good in everything, but he is too fickle. As soon as this thought came up, there was a knock on the door outside. Miao understood and quickly stepped forward to open the door. Under Zhu Xiaoyun's gaze, the door slowly opened and what came into view were the 7 girls from Tanshui College plus Mengren and Huo Wu. Zhu Xiaoyun quietly moved away from Yun Feng a little. I don't know why, but suddenly I felt that Yun Feng was too dangerous. Although I don't like Davis, my fiancé, very much, but I am also engaged. Before the engagement is cancelled, It will not be good to be with other men. It will also bring bad reputation to Yun Feng. Of course, Zhu Xian only thought about this in her heart. If Yun Feng knew about it, he might spit out blood. He is that kind of person! It's ridiculous. He is such a handsome man. How could he be the kind of person who is impatient? The yard is not big, and a large number of women poured in instantly, which made it a bit crowded. Shui Binger came to discuss tactics with Yun Feng seriously. As for what she thought in her heart, it is unknown, but Shui Duoer is completely a flower maniac. After seeing Yun Feng, she rushed straight to Yun Feng like a young swallow, found a suitable position, and got into Yun Feng's arms. Seeing her sister like this, Shui Binger's face turned red all of a sudden. Zhu Wu and others were envious, because they still couldn't let go of their reserve and couldn't be as open as Shui Duoer. The king of words and bronze of actions described these few people. Yun Feng looked at this small body hiding in his arms, and he was helpless. Duoer, didn't you see that your sister's face was red with anger? Come down quickly. I thought that Shui Duoer would come down after Yun Feng said this, but who knew that after hearing Yun Feng's words, Shui Duoer slightly raised her little head, blinked her eyes and looked at her sister. She pouted and said, "Sister is not angry at all. I like you too, but I don't dare to act. Every time I come to your side to practice, it's just to see you more." Hearing this, everyone's eyes turned to Shui Binger, who was standing there at a loss, with a little bit of mischief in her eyes. Shui Binger couldn't bear it anymore, and didn't care about etiquette and ladylike things to her sister. She just roared loudly, "Shui, you, Shui Duoer heard her sister's roar. Her body shuddered, and her hands unconsciously hugged Yun Feng's waist tighter. The little face was buried tightly, and she was still mumbling, "It's obvious. Why are you angry? Didn't you tell me yourself?" As soon as these words came out, everyone looked at Shui Binger with gossipy faces. They didn't expect that this woman with a cold temperament actually had such thoughts behind her back. They all had the kind of painful expression of wanting to laugh but having to hold it back. Even if Shui Binger was well-mannered, she couldn't help but burst out. Her jade legs moved directly, and the whole person rushed straight toward Shui Duoer, hiding in Yun Feng's arms like a hungry tiger. The posture seemed to be to fight to the death. Yun Feng wanted to hide, but after thinking about it, forget it. After all, the other party didn't even summon a spirit ring. There was no need. Looking at Yun Feng's current appearance, Mengren also blushed, and pulled Zhuge Yan next to him and said, "Sister Yanzi, has Yun Feng always been like this?" Zhuge Yan naturally got to know Mengren during this period of time, because they were both spirit masters of the same attribute. They also felt a little familiar. In addition, Mengren was also a great beauty. Even a woman like her could not help but be moved by that figure. So she subconsciously treated Mengren as her sister and answered her question. Yes, Yun Feng has always been like this. According to him, this is called being sultry. He likes to see women fighting for him the most. Zhuge Yan pondered for a moment and added, "Of course, it's a joke. You can't get angry, otherwise he will hate you." In fact, Mengren is a firm supporter of monogamy. After all, she was influenced by her grandparents, so she has longed to have such a perfect husband since she was a child. But since she met Yun Feng last time, she missed Yun Feng because of her own ideas. After returning, even Yun Feng's figure was all in her dreams, and she thought about him day and night. So in order to have a more wonderful reunion, Mengren began to practice hard. After all, according to Yun Feng's strength, he will definitely come to participate in the Soul Master competition. This is beyond doubt. Chapter 349. Long live, long live, long live. So she led the team all the way from the kingdom to fight up, just to see Yun Feng again in the promotion match. But she didn't expect that when she saw him again, there were more people around Yun Feng. So during the promotion match, she was thinking, if she got ahead, what would the result be? But at least she would be a junior 4, not a junior 20 now, and she might not even be able to get a number. While Mengren was struggling, Shui Binger also threw Shui Duoer down. They started to pull each other wildly. Yun Feng's mouth was about to burst with laughter. Both of them were unique, and the two of them fighting in an embrace was an extremely erotic thing no matter how you looked at it. Seeing Yun Feng's smug face, the girls also pouted and said in unison, Dead scumbag. The fourth round of the All-Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Elite competition began after a day of rest. Unexpectedly, after the fierceness of the last round, this round became normal. The last 6 teams decided their opponents by drawing lots. Among them, the Wuhan Hall Academy team, the Blue Tyrant Academy team, the Tandu Royal Academy team, and the Tanshui Academy team are obviously stronger. This means that 2 of the 4 strong teams will definitely meet each other, without any suspense. After the draw, Tanshui Academy was relieved. After all, the other teams were fine, but they were afraid of meeting the Blue Tyrant Academy and the Wuhan Hall Academy. Meeting each other is almost the same result. Although it was not a good draw, it met the Tandu Royal Academy. In fact, according to compatibility, Tanshui Academy has a greater chance of winning, but Tandu Royal Academy is more solid after all. This also made the 4th round of the game end without any suspense. The final 3 are the 3 strongest teams. That is, Wuhan Academy, Blue Tyrant Academy, and Tandu Royal Academy. At this time, it has entered the final moment of fighting. The combat power of the 3 major teams is basically intact. The finals are just around the corner. They are only 1 step away from the final championship. The bright sunshine fell on the earth. Under the sunshine, the Pope's palace looked even more magnificent, like a fairy's residence. In front of the Pope's palace, 2 rows of palace knights lined up from the front of the Pope's palace to the foot of the mountain. The bright silver armor and heavy knight swords made the entire Pope mountain more majestic. Under Yun Feng's suggestion, the eliminated teams did not leave, but chose to stay here to watch the final. They also wanted to see the top geniuses on this continent compete against each other. After all, this is also a grand event. Bibi Dong originally disagreed, but when she saw Yun Feng said so, her inner scale was immediately unbalanced. Early in the morning, the 3 teams that entered the final 3 finals had already appeared in front of the Pope's palace and waited quietly. The teachers of the 3 major colleges were not allowed to stand in the square and could only wait outside. A total of 21 players participating in the finals stood quietly on the square, waiting for the arrival of the final moment. The expressions of the Spirit Hall Academy team, led by Ziyu, were the most relaxed, but what was flashing in their eyes was the light of faith. Faith in the Spirit Hall, faith in the Pope. Yun Feng from Lanba Academy stood alone at the front, followed by 6 girls. Zhang Jun and Xin both went on stage. As for Huang Yuan and Jingling, they stayed in the audience. The square inches front of the Pope's palace was no smaller than the competition stage used in the previous competition. The square was paved with special stones. If you look carefully, you can find that those stones have a layer of light and lustrous light. Although it is not real jade, it is definitely not comparable to ordinary rocks. From this, it can be seen how terrible the financial resources of the Spirit Hall are. A team of people walked out of the side door of the Pope's palace. A total of 12 red cardinals, whose status was second only to that of the Platinum Bishop, walked slowly over. They walked all the way to the door of the Pope's palace and stood on the left and right, with 6 people on each side. The leader was like the eunuch Ji Yunfeng had seen in the Tandu Palace. He shouted in his sharp voice, "His Majesty the Pope has arrived! Long live! Long live! Long live!" The 3 shouts echoed throughout the Wuhan city like a landslide and tsunami. It was not only the voices of the neatly arranged palace guards on the Pope Mountain, but also the shouts of all the soul masters in the entire Wuhan city who were not close to the Pope Mountain. For them, the Pope is the highest belief. It was the Wuhan Hall that gave them hope and helped them to get to this point today, so there was a hint of fanaticism in their eyes. The huge palace door slowly opened, and the 6 emblems on the 2 doors gradually deviated from the track. Everyone's eyes unconsciously gathered in the direction of the opening of the door. Even the 7 members of the Wuhan Hall Academy team, their heartbeats were constantly accelerating at this time. Even as the golden generation of the Wuhan Hall, they had only seen the Pope once when they were awarded the Purple Record Medal. Of course, except Huliina, Bibi Dong, who was dressed in a golden long dress from head to toe, with a purple gold crown on her head and a scepter in her hand, walked out of the Pope's hall with a solemn look on her face. She had an illusory feeling, as if she was infinitely tall. No one even paid attention to her beautiful face. At this moment, She only represented the majesty of the Pope of the Spirit Hall. The golden long dress was very fitting, and the dazzling dress was shining with precious light. There were more than 100 red, blue and gold gems on it, and the purple gold crown on her head was even more brilliant. All the light was concentrated on her at this moment. All the people of the Spirit Hall knelt on one knee and shouted, "Greetings to His Holiness the Pope." The atmosphere at this moment was indescribable. Some people who had been unsteady all along, in the shouts coming from all directions, couldn't help but feel like worshipping. Behind Bibi Dong, there were 4 people, 3 of whom were wearing bright red dresses, which were different from the red dress of the cardinal. The red dresses they were wearing were inlaid with gold and silver patterns, especially the gem on the chest that was shining with golden light and was as big as a baby's fist, which was full of luxury. For ordinary people, perhaps this dress only symbolized nobility, but for soul masters, it was the greatest honor, because only titled Douluo were qualified to wear this red dress, and obviously, these 3 people were of such status. Among these 3 people, only one was someone Yun Feng and the others had seen before, that was Chen Xin, the 96th level titled Douluo with the title of Sword from the 7 Treasures Glazed Sect, who was known as the Sword Douluo with the strongest attack. Among the other 2, the one on the left had a layer of illusory aura all over his body. Although he was wearing the same clothes, no one could see his appearance clearly. As for the other one, his skin looked as delicate as a baby, and his charming appearance gave people a special feeling. If it weren't for the Adam's apple on his neck, no one would think he was actually a man. Chapter 350 Where is my teacher? Yun Feng narrowed his eyes slightly, knowing without thinking that it was Yu Guan and Gui Mai. After all, Bibi Dong couldn't produce so many titled Douluo at the moment, and the strongest among them were only these 2. There were only 3 types of people who could walk out of the main gate of the Pope's palace. The first type was naturally the Pope, the second type was the titled Douluo who had proven himself with strength, and the third type was the elders of the Spirit Hall. Apart from these 3, even the Platinum Bishop and the emperors of the 2 empires were not qualified to enter and exit this gate. The 4th person who walked with the 3 titled Douluo obviously did not have the strength of a titled Douluo, but he still walked out of this gate, which meant that he had another identity, the elder of the Spirit Hall, to be precise. He was an honorary elder, and it was the leader of the 7 Treasures Glazed Sect, Ning Fengzi. In fact, Zhu Gubo also had such qualifications. But the last time he came to the Spirit Hall to find trouble with Yu Guan, he was beaten by Yu Guan and Gui Mai together. He threatened the disciples of the Spirit Hall again, so he ran away. Thinking that Yun Feng had 2 powerful titled Douluo around him, Zhu Gubo didn't even come in. It was because of his heart. However, the atmosphere was so tense that Yun Feng looked around and found that everyone present knelt down, except for the Blue Tyrant Academy on his side. Tang San and Daimyo Bai did not kneel down. He couldn't help but twitch his lips and looked at Bibi Dong with a dim gaze. "How dare you disrespect the Pope?" The cardinal who had sung before shouted angrily. Bibi Dong seemed to have noticed Yun Feng's gaze and raised her hand to everyone. Bibi Dong was able to inherit the Pope's position because of the previous generation of the Pope's recognition and the support of several elders. But she was able to hold on to this position entirely because of her thunderous wrist and strength. But she didn't speak directly to Yun Feng, but instead said to everyone, "Get up." All the people who were kneeling on the ground stood up, but after she finished speaking, Bibi Dong also looked directly at Tang San who was standing. The tone was neither slow nor slow. "Why don't you kneel?" Tang San heard this, his eyes were somewhat angry. The woman in front of him killed the mother he had never met, causing Tang Hao to fall into such a state, and not letting him have a good childhood. How could he be happy in his heart? How could he kneel down? However, Bibi Dong knew that Tang San would never answer her, so she changed the question. "Tang San, do you want to know where your teacher went?" This time, it was not only Tang San who was worried, but also Flanders and other people from the Tandu Royal Academy below. Everyone's face was full of emotions. Flanders was confused. Tang San was excited, and Oscar was relieved. Flanders was afraid that Zhao Gang had already gained power in the Spirit Hall and wanted to take revenge on him. Oscar was thinking that if Zhao Gang was here, the game would be much easier. At least they could formulate some tactics that were beneficial to them. Whereas my teacher, although Tang San didn't care much about the mother he had never met, the spirit hall actually dared to take away the motherly love that he had missed in 2 lifetimes. So in his heart, he sentenced the spirit hall to death. Bibi Dong of the spirit hall had already decided to kill him. He hated Yao Gang to the core, but in order to protect his reputation, Tang San still had to pretend to be excited. "How dare you!" Several pressures immediately crushed Tang San. Tang San's knees also knelt down in the face of such huge pressure. "How dare you disrespect the Pope!" Tang San, who knelt on the ground, looked at Bibi Dong and the figures around him with a face full of humiliation. Bibi Dong waved her hand, and seemed to be in a good mood. She slowly said, "It's okay, your teacher is staying in the spirit hall now. But there are still some things to do. I will send you to see him when the time comes." Tang San just felt several murderous intentions, and now cold sweats ran down his back. Just now, he was too impulsive and forgot that this was the territory of the spirit hall. It was a mistake, and he lost so much face. Tang San knew he was embarrassed, so he didn't say much. He just cupped his hands and stopped talking. Bibi Dong smiled, and her eyes swept from left to right, sweeping over all the 21 young spirit masters who participated in the top 3 finals. "I see hope in you. In front of the Pope's palace, I hope to see all your talents and strengths. The final winner will receive the greatest reward from the spirit hall." As she spoke, she waved the scepter in her hand. No one could see clearly how she did it. 3 points of light instantly enlarged in front of Bibi Dong and floated in the air. They were 3 different things, not big in size, shaped like bones: 1 right arm bone, 1 skull, and 1 left leg bone. They also flashed with 3 colors of light: red, light blue, and dark green. Spirit bones. Those were 3 spirit bones. Even at the foot of the Pope's mountain, the light of the 3 spirit bones could be clearly seen. For a moment, the entire spirit city was completely boiling, except for those who knew about the final reward in advance, who would have thought that there would be 3 spirit bones. From the light, it can be seen that these 3 soul bones are of extraordinary quality. Even the people in the spirit hall, one by one, have greedy eyes. You know, this is something that even titled Buo finds rare. Yuguan and Gaimai don't have one. Aren't they strong enough? This shows how precious soul bones are. If this is not the Pope's palace, if there are not several titled Buo here to deter, I am afraid that someone would have rushed up to grab them out of greed. Tang San saw these 3 dazzling lights and was secretly calculating in his heart. If he used the King of Hell's post, could he grab one? Of course, Tang San would not be so stupid as to rob from the spirit hall. But after thinking about it carefully, Tang San still felt confident that he could get it openly, so he suppressed this thought. This is a soul bone. For soul masters, it is the most precious thing. It can be encountered but not sought. There are also high and low soul bones, and the quality itself is extremely important. The higher the level of the soul beast, the greater the effectiveness of the soul bone. Of course, the external soul bone is an exception, because the number of external soul bones is the rarest, and the growth potential is also the most precious of all soul bones. In the entire system, it is second only to the 100,000-year soul ring. There are 6 ordinary soul bones in total: head, torso and limbs. Among the 6 soul bones, the most precious is the torso, followed by the head, and then the right hand, left leg, and right leg in this order. Soul bones of the same quality have different values in different positions. Although the 3 soul bones that Pope Bibi Dong took out this time did not include the most precious torso soul bone, there was also a skull. The preciousness of the right arm bone is second only to the skull and torso bones. Even the worst left leg bone is not the least valuable of the 6 soul bones. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.